Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is day 3 of RE Plus 2025.
You made it.
Give yourselves
Congratulations, you're still alive.
Applause. Thank you to everyone over in the Venetian, all of you intrepid souls who made it over to Caesars Forum. If you are just hanging out over there because it's easier, I salute you and welcome to day 3.
If you haven't made it over to Caesars Forum, though, it's, you got about 3 hours to do so
That's
before
right.
they shut the doors.
It'll take about that long to get over
here. It will take about that long. Go to the back of the Venetian Expo Hall. There's a bridge, and it'll take you right over to Caesars Forum.
If your voice sounds like Lisa
Ours.
and I, then congratulations. You've actually done your job this week, which is talking to as many people as possible. Today, we're going to have more than a few fun conversations. We've got Brendan Bell for Aligned Climate Capital. We have our swag contest winner to be announced. That's going to be fun. What else do we have?
We have Dean Solon from
Dean
Creative
Solon,
Energy.
that's right, Create Energy. We've got Sherry Givens from Alliance for Tribal Clean Energy. Sherry Smith. I said Givens, I'm so sorry.
Third day, it's really hard. Sherry, struggle bus over here.
It's hard to read on the screen. Sherry Smith. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on just a quick wrap on your quick take on the week.
Oh, my hot take on this week? I appreciate how people are taking accountability where they can related to some of the headwinds that have come about in the past couple of months, and recognizing where they can take advantage of certain market opportunities, adjust and pivot their operations to continue to move things forward.
Yeah.
And I've heard from several folks that the market's still in on this industry. It's still the fastest way to deploy energy, and people are still moving forward. So, I didn't hear no bell.
Nobody's down for the count yet.
No.
Well, it is, of course, for those who are watching the calendar, September 11th.
It is.
So I want to take a moment and acknowledge the not-so-holiday of today, the remembrance of all the people who lost their lives on September 11th, almost 20 years ago now.
Almost.
Almost 25 years ago now. A lot of crazy things happening in the news lately that some of you probably haven't heard, so I would encourage you not to go on the social media until you get home. Enjoy the rest of your show if you can. The thing that I'm coming away with this week is that, and I've been saying this coming into RE+, is that we as an industry need to be telling a better story, and nothing is more emblematic of that than the Monday session on storytelling was standing room only. There is a fervor, an appetite for learning how to tell a good story. So that is something that obviously we're passionate about, and something that we believe every executive and every brand should be passionate about. But we got to get on the same page and tell the right story. We got to get out of the tech talk. We got to get out of the science fair nature of what our industry has heretofore sort of represented. There's also a lot of creative energy coming into the industry as you look around. A lot of the booths, I don't know if you saw the Create Energy booth. It's like rockets are taking off and lights are flashing everywhere. So it's kind of like, I think RE Plus is starting to look a lot more like CES as we get more technologically advanced. But there's a lot of fun this week, and I tell you, there were a lot of folks who thought coming into this week that there wouldn't be all that much fun.
You thought people thought they might be sort of like ho-hum.
Yeah, a little ho-hum. And that's what I kept hearing, like, what do you think the attitude's going to be? What's the atmosphere? And from my vantage point, the atmosphere and the attitude has been very positive. A lot of folks realize that we're still early in the race, despite the rhetoric around being an advanced technology that doesn't need tariffs. Solar energy, battery energy storage, it's inevitable. It will be the largest contributor to generation and capacity on the grid by 2035.
Yeah, it's interesting how these markets continue to move forward regardless of what some entrenched interests might want to have happen. So I think and we've always been that way in this industry, right? And it's been sort of like boom times and then a drop and then boom and a drop. And, but on the whole, things keep going up.
That's right. Well, we've got a handful of guests that have made their way all the way over from...
yeah, they were here early on the third day.
I know, it's amazing. Why don't we honor their time and bring up our first guest?
Okay, Brendan Bell, come on up. Partner at Align Climate Capital.
Also very, very snazzy dresser.
Yes.
And I enjoy clapping before I've actually said anything, so it's great. It's nice to be here with you guys.
Setting the expectation that you will be, that you will be
I'm
great.
going to just go down here.
We're making speaking great again.
That's right.
Brought my hat.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Brendan, we were talking a bit about what we were experiencing on the show floor this week in terms of the mood and how people are adjusting. What's been your take as you've been, I know you've had a lot of meetings this week.
Yeah, well, first off, I'm tired, right? I think just like everybody else. I think you guys are just saying it, right? I think there feels like there's more activity and energy, certainly investment, deal making than we've seen in the past few years. I think if anybody waited in line for a coffee at the Venetian, right?
Crazy.
it's not like there's no crowd here.
Yeah.
So, the fundamentals are still the same, right? We need a lot of power generation in the world today. And the fastest, cheapest way to do it is with renewables. And I think it's, for those of us who've been coming to these conferences for a number of years, it's amazing to see all the people, to see the sophisticated companies that are operating in the space. So it's exciting. Mm-hmm. We've definitely been doing a lot.
Yeah, you've mentioned that there's been some good developers have been safe harboring their projects and been thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, look, the solar industry is one that if you give the industry a set of rules, they figure it out pretty fast, right? Yeah. It's been really impressive to watch the number of developers that have already safe harbored their portfolios through 2029 or 2030.
Right.
But I think, again, also we're seeing electricity prices rise. Even the projects that we're buying now, if they didn't have tax credits, would still work for us as an investor. So I think, again, the rest of the world does not have tax credits. It's still 90% of all new power generation around the world. Mm-hmm. Saudi Arabia, China are not doing this because they have tax credits. They're doing this because they need power and they need cheap power.
Because it makes sense.
Yeah. A friend of mine, I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and she phrased it like, well, you missed the sale, but solar's still a good deal.
That's right. Brendan, I know a lot of the investment that you see traditionally is kind of weighted one way, sort of to one end of the spectrum, either super early stage or more what I would consider infrastructure, like late stage. You've chosen to look on both ends, sort of a barbell approach. Can you talk about the decision to take this dual approach, and how does that actually help opportunities open up more for you? What does that position you for?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, we have both a venture capital strategy at Aligned, and we have an infrastructure strategy. Yeah. So maybe it means that we have a personality disorder or something, I'm not sure. But we see this all as sort of looking at the clean energy transition in different ways, right? Yeah. There's different ways to invest in it. There's not a single way. So I think it helps us. We've invested in companies through our venture business that we use as a service provider for our infrastructure business. So I think at the end of the day for us, this is a market transformation about transforming the world's infrastructure. And obviously there's software solutions to that, there's venture solutions to that. But you need to, at the end of the day, understand that core piece, and that's infrastructure, and then other strategies can build around that.
And having your hands in the infrastructure, especially around community solar projects that you invest in, I would assume it gives you a certain type of perspective that then feeds back into the types of companies you might be looking for investment.
For sure. I mean, just to give you an example from this week, we've had a couple developers show us a new racking technology that we're not familiar with on our infrastructure business. Yeah. But we now, we have a venture team that can look at that and can evaluate it and look at the new technology risks. And I think that's unique. So that's just a perfect example from this week of how the two strategies help us. Mm-hmm.
This week also there was some news about the All Aboard Coalition, which is a $300 million VC fund backed by some VCs that you would know their names, Breakthrough Energy Ventures and others. And I'm curious to know, from your perspective, Brendan, the whole goal of this is to focus on turning this valley of death for startups into a valley of opportunity. And from the outside looking in, what's your take on how successful this type of VC fund might be?
Yeah, well, look, I think it's exciting for anybody that's committing to this space and wanting to put money in. And obviously, when Bill Gates is there, that's great, right? Well, we're never going to turn Bill Gates away from the party. I think, obviously, we need a lot of capital. We need a lot of deployment to get those more breakthrough technologies to where we are today here with solar, right? I think my partner Peter and I ran the Department of Energy Loan Program Office for President Obama. we did the first 10 utility scale solar projects in the United States. That was 2013, right? Here we are 13 years later, and we have an industry and a conference that is as mature as anything else in the world. But it takes that time, right? And it takes more than $300 million, which those investors know. But I think we have to be honest about the time it's going to take and the amount of capital and work to get, direct air capture, hydrogen, other technologies to where this industry is today.
Brendan, it's encouraging the way that you look at the infrastructure, and obviously this capital is a sign that there is capital coming in, and we've seen a flight to quality. It's encouraging to be able to have a conversation with an investor like you who understands what it takes both to get the innovation into the market and then utilize it properly to scale and deploy these technologies. Thank you for joining us on the morning show, and
Thanks for having
wish
us.
you all the luck.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Nico.
Next, we've got Sherry Smith, President and CEO and founder of the Alliance for Tribal Clean Energy. Sherry, welcome to the stage.
Welcome, Sherry. Let me fix you there. Girls got to look out for each other.
There you go. Sherry, as we get you suited up here, oh yeah, flip that over. I want you to talk a bit about the Pathways to Trust framework and what it means for the constituents and how others can participate and share in what you're trying to grow.
Well, so the Pathways to Trust program came about because tribes are a really good partner for developing clean energy. With 5% of the land available in this country for utility scale development, especially being held by tribes, tribes make excellent partners. It's not business as usual, though. And so we want to be a catalyst, a conduit between tribal nations and our industry allies and partners. And so the Pathways to Trust program is 5 modules. It's 20 hours total, and we're doing this in partnership with SIA. And the first level, the freshman level so it's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, masters right now.
Right.
The freshman level is people who say things like, Indians still exist?
Oh my goodness. So
And
this is like public education levels.
It is, and then it goes up to the master's level, which are our staunchest allies that have been in the trenches with us and boots on the ground for a long time. And it's a respectful way to learn about colonization, and especially the impact of electrification on Native American tribes in our country since the very beginning of the electrical grid. So it's to help you be in right relation as an industry, as a company, as an individual, and because you can't. It's like, would you go to Japan and expect to do business without learning the customs and the culture? It's that, and people in America don't realize when you walk into a sovereign nation that's a tribe, you have to learn certain cultural aspects and customs.
It's like, I love it. It's like a cultural attaché to help folks understand how to do it there.
Exactly.
Well, because I understand that on some levels, tribes are looking 7 generations out based to make their decisions. And it can be difficult for developers to get their heads around that kind of thinking. So it sounds like your program is helping people adjust their understanding and points of view to the culture and thoughts and processes of the tribes.
Yeah, exactly. And our preferred provider program, this is a requirement to be a preferred provider of the Alliance. And, we don't guarantee to tribes that any one entity is, we can't guarantee their work. But what we can do is to say, we have interviewed these folks, we have taken references either from tribal communities or other communities that they can be in right relation and work equitably, and that they are willing to give tribes the ownership stake in the project.
I think this is the piece that is missing, right? Because there's a lot of folks that see tribes as a vector for, there's a pathway to being able to get project land that's optimal, but they don't come in with a strategy. And so I think therefore the tribes are seen as sort of philanthropic receivers of, they're sort of benefactors of the industry.
industry has been opportunistic.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
coming in and offering lease payments of $11 an acre for tribal land.
Where they offer much higher prices elsewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with no ownership stake or no community benefits agreements or no workforce plan
Yeah.
to involve local people.
Which is still that sort of colonial perspective.
Totally.
And so there's a lot of trust that needs to be rebuilt, it sounds like,
Exactly.
obviously. And it sounds like that pathways
Pathways
to
to
trust. Ah, it's in the
You
name.
tied it. You tied it
in
right
the
back to it.
name.
Sherry, I'm wondering before we let you run, is there a good example that is emblematic of how you would hope to see more projects develop in the region?
I encourage industry to reach out to us and just learn about the opportunities.
Yeah.
We have tribes developing projects from 2.5 kilowatts to 750 megawatts.
Wow.
So there's, tribes are looking to replace fossil generation and coal industries that made up a large share of some of their revenue with utility scale to participate in wholesale energy markets for the first time. There's big dollar opportunities. And if a company is willing to give up some equity to still do good and do well, it's not like it's charity at all.
Yeah, that's good to know. Sherry, if folks wanted to figure out how to work more aligned with that vision, what's the best way for them to reach out and learn more about your programs?
info@tribalcleanenergy.org. We have our tribal liaison here, Chris Mercasito.
Yeah,
But
Chris.
info@ will get you, it comes to my desk and it comes
Perfect.
to our entire team. So
Sherry, thank you for all the work that
thank
you're
you
doing.
both
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you.
It's so good to see
Good
you.
to see you
Thanks,
too.
guys.
Welcome.
So you all know that we have been doing a swag contest for the third time, right?
Yes, I think this is the third year. And we have once again had an inundation of really creative and wonderful swag.
I'm really excited about my caricature.
Yes, it was really wonderful. It truly was. And we had a lot of honorable mentions, a lot of folks that brought swag to us. And I wish that we could showcase all of the great ideas. But alas, we only ever are able to pick one winner because there's only one that crosses the line first, right, Dean? So without further ado, and I think there is a slight, there's a slight edge to folks that want to bribe me. I don't think these folks actually knew that Pringles are my favorite snack.
Do you know? Oh, so you can be bought. That's good to know.
So yesterday, the folks from Furukawa Electric came over with a flat of wrapped Pringles, and I thought, well, this is interesting. These guys are bringing snacks to us. And when I looked at it, it actually is labeled, like, I don't know if you guys can get a close-up of this, but it is literally, like, has their, it's in Japanese. I don't read Japanese kanji, but it says Bill Smarter, 50% faster, 50% greener. So we wanted to actually give the award to Furukawa Electric because I think that this is a really clever way to package your product. Obviously, it's not likely that this is going to sit around on their desk and they're going to remember a whole lot of like Build Smarter, but this is a clever way to get your product into somebody's hands in a way that is going to leave them with a positive taste in their mouth.
Oh, yes. Yes, and you can, as I understand it, you can only get these Pringles custom made in Japan.
Well, why don't we ask Sarah? Sarah Kame from Furukawa Electric is the sales rep. I'd love for Sarah to come up and give us a moment of her time. I have just a couple of questions for you. And you'll have to know that Sarah is very nervous about her first time on stage.
You're going to do great. You're with friends.
We will. Sarah, congratulations for winning our swag contest.
Yes, congratulations.
So much. Thank you.
Sarah, Lisa Ann mentioned that you're able to custom manufacture these with Pringles in Japan.
Exactly.
Is that
yes.
something that takes a long time?
Well, it takes about like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But you have to design it yourself, so that's pretty much the hardest part. But after that, it's pretty easy.
I think it's fascinating. Why did you choose this particular way to represent your brand or to have a leave behind as a swag?
So we really wanted to leave an impact here because since this is our first time exhibiting from Japan to America, so we had lots of other options. For example, there were like high chews, but they're small, so it doesn't leave great impact when you put it on the desk.
Yes.
But for Pringles, it's pretty tall.
Yep.
So we thought this is the best option options. And after all, Americans love potato chips and
Yes,
Pringles.
Americans love potato chips. Pringles in particular.
Exactly.
Where are you guys booth? Where's your booth? Is it here in Caesars?
Yes, it's in Caesars. It's F17200. You can just go in from the room 212 and you'll see your booth.
Fantastic. And go ahead.
I mean, because I understand you have a lot of Pringles left over. You don't want
Yes,
to take them
That's
back
what
to
I was gonna
Japan.
ask.
So go out there and get those Pringles, everybody.
Yeah, feel free to grab anything.
So anybody who wants Pringles, they're going to leave some here at the Power Up Live stage. You can swing by and get your own can of Furukawa Electric Pringles. Sarah, thank you for the very creative idea.
Thank you so
for taking the
much.
time today, and for there was a lot of high intention on their part to come over yesterday and present it to us, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen Pringles swag at any conference that I have been
Neither
to
have I.
Really?
in 20 years.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We appreciate
Congratulations
it.
to the Furukawa team. Thank you. All right, well, certainly not last or least, one of the most dynamic characters in the industry, the CEO of Create Energy, Mr. Dean Solon, is going to come up and spend a little time with us. I have, in fairness, not asked Dean to filter at all. Dean, get your ass up here. All right. Dean Solon, everyone. Dean, just put number 3 on.
Good to see you again, Dean.
Look at that.
Welcome to the stage, Dean.
Thank you.
Glad you made it.
I'm barely here, as a matter of fact.
I am
hungover
genuinely-
as hell.
Because you had
I'm
your party
genuinely-
last night, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, and I have
It
no
was-
voice.
Yeah, well, between the 3 of us, we have one voice, Dean.
Yes.
All right, what is it?
Never say die.
It is the unification of the industry, Dean. So one thing I wanted folks to have a chance. I wanted to have a chance to hear from you. Something came out in the news this week that really surprised me. I'll be honest. I've interviewed you at length. I've been trying to better understand Create Energy, and all of a sudden on Monday morning, I get a text from Joe that says, "Check out the news," and then I get a text from SMA that says, "Did you see the press release?" And I'm like, "What is going on? Like, why are Create and SMA reaching out to me at the same time?" Could you tell me what's going on with SMA and how that represents sort of the new wave of manufacturing and domestic product here in the U.S.?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with Frank Barron.
Yeah,
Frank and I have been friends since he's been at SMA, early 2011. And when they had Danfoss, we were building power skids at Shoals. Frank and I became great friends. And about 4 months ago, he came up and said, "Hey, let's fly to Germany. I want to introduce you to Florian." I already knew Florian, but he's like, "Let's go talk about building inverters."
Yeah.
So we jumped on a plane. 2-3 months later, we signed last Friday, and here we are on Monday, and we're going to be their inverter manufacturer in the United States.
So you're manufacturing. What scope of manufacturing are you taking on for SMA in the U.S.?
So on the first unit, it's going to be the high power 3, and they're going to send me the circuit boards, and then we're going to manufacture the rest.
You're going to do all the rest.
Yes.
I think it's fascinating because you're taking both from the string level up to larger, like skid mount product, right?
Yes.
So basically, all of their domestic product is going to run through Create.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully, but essentially, what I'm hearing from you is that you guys are operating as like a Jabil or Flextronics for the solar industry.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, mostly for SMA.
Mostly.
Those lucky dogs.
But what we're going to do is we're going to build the inverters.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be 2 pathways. One is we're manufacturing kind of like a contract manufacturer.
Right, yep.
That we send to SMA or their distribution for normal sales channel. And then we're going to take those products we're building in-house, we're going to put them on power skids, and then we'll sell those to our customers in 1.2 and 2.1 and 4.2 megawatt skids.
So the utility scale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Utility, CNI, reduce them down a bit.
It strikes me, Dean, that you've been in the manufacturing space for like the past 3 decades, and it seems to me like you've probably watched manufacturing leave the United States and then our attempts to bring it back. So my question for you is, what types of concrete steps do we need to take to really onshore more manufacturing here in the U.S.? What types of investments or policies or workforces do you see are needed?
Biggest one would be workforce.
Yeah.
Because we haven't manufactured hard industrial style manufacturing in the United States for the last 20 some years.
Yeah.
So what we got to do is get our kids to stop going to college to learn how to write a sentence and do whatever the hell they're doing. Get them in trade schools, get them in industrial. They need to learn how to be tool makers again, how to be maintenance people. Do the things that manufacturing needs, because you can put in all the most sophisticated processes in manufacturing you want. We don't have the labor force that knows how to work any of it.
Yeah.
I know you guys have probably seen my little, I call him my hot pocket muncher guy.
Yeah, pocket muncher.
But he's lit in mommy's basement. He's learned how to use a game controller. Doesn't know how to use a screwdriver, right? It's just the environment they've been in for the last 15 years or so. We got to get them back in their parents' garage, fixing lawnmowers, learning how to debug, learning how to problem solve, right? And then get them into the industrial side, because without a great labor force, making the machines work, making the plants roll, you could have the most sophisticated things in the world and you're not going to put anything out, because you're going to be trying to solve problems that keep happening over and over and over every day.
Yeah. Dean, I wonder.
Well, I was going to say, part of the challenge we've had of bringing manufacturing back to the United States is the strength of the dollar.
Yes.
How do you see the economics of this working?
That, I'm more let free markets work, don't tax, don't do stupid things with tax and blah, blah, blah. Manufacturing is going to come back. Thank God Trump said, bring manufacturing onshore. My entire career, I've only manufactured in the United States. I had two factories in China back in the mid-2000s, but I had Chinese customers. So I set up a factory, built their products in China for Chinese markets. Yeah. I didn't make things in China and then ship it to the United States or to Europe, right? But I lost my mind.
Well,
it's been a long
alcohol
week.
brain is turned off.
I just want to know, I mean, you've spent a lot of time training. I mean, one of the core things in your manufacturing philosophy is making things so simple that anyone can do it. You said in our interview in May or June that if someone messes up in the field, shame on me. I didn't design it simply enough. How do we marry the need to develop a workforce that's willing to do the work with the philosophy of making it so simple anyone can do it?
You got to make it where when they get up and go to work in the morning, they have purpose. Right? They're going to something, they're going to have a passion for the rest of their life. You're not just a walking, hourly paid imbecile doing what they want. I'll kind of make fun of, we want to make it so simple. But quite honestly, the simpler we make it, and they could do high-level skilled work 10 hours a day and not make mistakes, it's good for their psyche too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Or you give them a very complex task to do, right? Lots of mistakes are burned into the process because it's so complicated, and they're going to keep making mistakes, not on purpose, right? Yeah. So you're disincentivizing them to do it right.
It can be demoralizing.
It is, right? So make it where they can, when they leave in the evenings, they're happy to come back in the morning.
Yeah, good advice.
Dean, is there anything as we wrap up here, we're wrapping not just this conversation, but our entire sort of daily morning show series here. I'm curious, you had probably among the highest traffic coming through the booth. Is there anything that you have as a parting thought that's sort of an encouragement that you found this week from all the folks that were coming through the booth? I mean, we came in, Lisa and I said at the beginning, that folks sort of felt ho-hum, like, oh, is the industry going to survive this? What's your message to the industry?
Look at this place, man. It's booming.
It is.
It's absolutely.
It is. It feels good. There's a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to go through an expansion like we've never seen before in solar.
Amazing.
And energy storage and even EV charging.
Yeah.
But once you kind of get the government out of it, it thrives.
Indeed.
Right? So rock on. This is going to kick ass.
Free markets, here we come.
Yeah.
Dean Solon from Create Energy. Thank you so much, Dean. Appreciate
you.
Thank you, Dean. Appreciate it.
Good luck, Dean. Well, Lisa Ann,
Do we have to go home? I don't want to go home.
I'm not. What's that? You didn't. That was
You
great.
did a great job.
You can yell something out now if you want. You're not on mic. I want to take a moment and say thank you to our morning show sponsor, Clean Tech Industry Resources. Daniel was on the show yesterday.
Yep.
CIR has had their team throughout the week here supporting, and we're so grateful for all the wonderful sponsors. Wärtsilä Energy Storage has helped make, as our presenting sponsor, helped make this entire show possible. Really grateful for all the wonderful content that came through the show, but I was really impressed with the quantity and quality of folks that were hosting on the stage that allowed me to not need to be on stage as often, including you. And I'm really thankful that you continue to join me for the morning show.
You're welcome, Nico.
And all of our friends out in
all
the
of
audience.
You in Jumbotron land.
Any parting thoughts for our friends over in the Venetian?
Well, if you're in the Venetian and you haven't made it over here to Caesars Forum, get your butt over here because you're missing out on a lot of good stuff out here. Also, remember, set some time in your schedule to do your follow-ups because there's no point in coming here, meeting all these people, having all these conversations if you don't do the follow-up. And frankly, only 10 to 20% of people ever do follow-up. So if you do it, you're in that top percentile.
Be top performers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come get your Pringles at the Power Up Live stage. The Daily Roundup will be at 12:30, and the morning show is a wrap.
All right. See you next year.
Next, we've got Sean White and Greg Smith. Don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. I'm here with Greg Smith, and we are at the Power Up Live stage. Let me make sure. Yeah, we're at the Power Up Live. This is the Power Up Live stage. And we want to thank Wartzilla, SunCast Media, Nico Johnson for being so cool and letting us be up here on his stage.
It's quite an honor.
Yeah, it's quite an honor, and I'm here with my guest Greg Smith. And the title of our presentation is RE Positive, keeping a positive attitude at RE Plus. And one of the things I want to say about positive, keeping it positive, is it's such a great place to be in this solar industry because everything's so positive, and I want to keep it really fun. And the other thing that's really cool about this is people are so polite. You couldn't even imagine anyone rushing the stage at RE Plus at a podcast because if something like that happened, hey, what's happening here? Get off of my stage. Okay, we got some surprise guests up here. We've got Blair Reynolds from Bela Solar, and we've got Emmett Muckles, and Emmett has his own podcast. Maybe you could explain about your podcast.
So it's the What's Up Solar Podcast. What's up?
What's up? What's up,
you know
Emmett?
what? I really, it's like people like you inspire me, Nico, and Greg is always giving me them big dog talks. But, we've developed a community, and it is upon us to share those relationships with the generations that are coming back and just people who are getting into the industry.
Well, and I think this industry just attracts good people anyway, for the most part.
I got a question. Am I Stephen A. Smith up here?
You can be whoever you want because we go through our whole lives in character. What's your character, Blair?
I think I'm just here to class the place up a little bit. I'll be honest with you.
You could be Shaq.
Okay, Jesus. I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty nervous to be up here surrounded by all these master trainers. You guys are going to pull some Caesar Milan, Jedi mind tricks on me. I'll be sit, stay, roll over.
All right, great. And then another thing that I was thinking of, just because of the title of our show, it is it's like RE Positive. And what I want to do is I want to make solar simpler, and I think we should get rid of negative and polarity and all that kind of stuff. So what if we just made solar modules that only had positive terminals? What do you technical guys think?
Not going to work.
No, well, you're forgetting something. Remember, we have the sun, but we also have ground. So they're going to be ungrounded, and it's going to cause a problem.
And these guys, some of them have enough trouble as it is with the positive and negative, so I think we would really confuse them with two of the same.
Yeah, well, we just then we wouldn't have to do the loop back. We would just sort of like the AC cables and stuff like that. It just goes to one way, a dead end, and all the electrons come from the sun to, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why doesn't that work?
Yeah, not in this universe, man.
Yeah,
maybe in a parallel one.
How do you have a NAPSEP shirt on and I don't?
I got it from their website. Oh. Yeah. Do you want my shirt?
No.
Okay.
No, I have one.
You want to see what I look like with my shirt on?
I have one. It's a medium, so I couldn't wear it anyway. It would have been a little bit too tight, you know.
Yeah, and all the people that get turned on by that wouldn't be able to handle themselves.
No. It just shows my dad bod. I've been working on that for quite a few years.
Dad bods are in now.
I'm getting there. I'm trying to get you to get one, and hey, I'll be selling them at 50% off. No, I'm kidding.
I was, yeah,
all right, we
Keep it positive, guys.
So,
we digress. That's the whole idea. I mean, that's why I had you two guys come up here to crash Greg's podcast. Should we ask Greg something?
Well, he's crashed enough stuff of mine, so that's just fair par for the game.
So I was going to say, RE Positive, keeping it positive. It's for people that have been in this an appreciable amount of time, like us.
Yeah.
These events usually just end up being a family reunion, right? I mean, Emmett, you and I go way back. Blair, you and I don't even remember how far back we go. And you tend to, it's the after party stuff, the after event parties that I enjoy, because that's when, the real business starts, right? You start kind of loosening up after a few drinks, and I think that's when the stuff really starts happening. I know, and I mean, you could tell I've been partying for the last 3 days because I almost lost my voice. But I think that's the part I enjoy about the show. The next mornings are not so great, but, if you're tired, you do it tired.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, man, but I was not looking forward to getting on a plane and coming to Vegas and doing another one of these. I thought it was going to be a pretty sobering event with all things going on in the world right now. But to be honest, man, I am pleasantly surprised. Really good vibes.
Well, I remember when it wasn't so large, and now you can see the confluence of how it's grown. So you think about years ago, it was modules and inverters and racking. Now we have solar generators, we have battery, we have commercial battery. It's just grown, and now we can expand our families out because there's more information that we can gain and share with the public.
Well, that's why we had to change the name, right, from SPI to RE+, because we just had such a big conglomerate of people other than those three, main things that the industry started with. And so, we just grab everybody, right? That's why I like these events, because you get to see what's going on, the new stuff, the improved stuff, things like that.
What's the thing that you've seen that made you go,
You asking me?
I'm asking all of you. I mean, there's had to be something that you go, things that make you go,
I think the attitude that's happening here, because everybody does seem pretty RE positive around here. You see all these people crying because of politics, but the sun is a lot stronger than politics, and it's going to come through, and our technology is superior, and it's going to work, and we're going to power the whole world with solar and storage.
And it never sends you a bill to sun that thing.
Yeah, look, for me, from my perspective, a couple of things. Like, all right, fine. We all know now, we have clarity. We know what's going to happen over the next coming years. Fine. It's time to put on the big boy pants, get to work, drive costs down. We got to get resi solar under $2 a watt, you guys. And so I've seen a couple of things out there on the show I'm really jazzed about. I'm passionate about 3741 and standards like this. So I've seen a couple of string level shutdown devices out there at booths, which is great. It gives us more options for rapid shutdown compliance, lowers cost, higher reliability. It's great to see these things coming to fruition. Also, grid forming. Yeah. Synchronous grid forming controls.
Oh, yeah, we're going to do a podcast on that.
Let's do it. Yeah. It's just a software upgrade, right, to push out to these assets that are already out there in the field. And so it's just only strengthening the grid, making it more resilient, and solving some of the problems that's been created by just, this deploy environment that we've been in for the last 2 decades. And, let's just go ahead and, just make everything better.
Blair, I got a question for you. What do you think about VPP coming into the fold for that? Because it's big in Europe, and it's just starting to hit the fold here. And for those of you who don't know what VPP is, that's virtual power plants. That's where your neighborhood is its own entity and can help the grid, where the grid kind of becomes just a backup.
Yeah, I love it. The technology obviously works. It's sound technology. You just need an incentive to, share my battery with you. So give me the incentive, pay me, and fine. You can take my juice. I don't care.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Your juice?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Didn't Lizzo make a song called Juice?
Uh-huh. So what about you, Greg? What's super positive going on with solar and storage and fishing? And how can you tie all that together without a pole in your hand?
I really try. I really try. But I think I would have liked to have gotten out more this trip. It just seems like I went from my booth to the bathroom and back, and I haven't even really got to see what's going on. Although people have come in and, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? So, stuff is getting better, but it seems like things are just kind of stagnant for me, right? It's like everybody's batteries and and they're changing form factor, and I don't know. I think the lithium is kind of king right now. It'll be interesting to see, in the next 5 years or so, when other technologies come out, how well that's going to play in, right? But it's so cost focused. It's so dollar per kilowatt hour. It drives me freaking crazy to hear that. And it always has. When they come into your booth, you're like, oh, what's your dollar per kilowatt hour? I'm like, you don't even want to know what it does. You just want to know that. And so, I don't know. That's a mindset.
But I think that's where the innovation is right now. You say it's stagnant, but what I see happening is all this work behind the scenes in the supply chain to make the batteries super affordable. And that's awesome. It's great.
It's the same functionality to me.
Right? I think it's going to come down to a fintech. For us to move forward, it's going to come down to a fintech. And what I mean by that is the financial instruments or the financial institutions are going to have to come up with an instrument that makes it affordable for the public where everybody can still make money. Because you have to think about it. We're not buying it like we're buying a piece of toothpaste. We're buying this over years. And if we get the right financial instrument where everybody can afford it and feel comfortable with it, I think we'll thrive.
So tell me about this piece of toothpaste.
It's a tube.
What is that?
What?
I mean, like when you buy a piece of toothpaste, it's a single transactional thing, and it's microseconds in your life cycle, right? But when you're buying something that's sustainable for your house, you're buying it like an instrument, like you're buying a house, like you're buying a car. It's over a span of years. If we can get the fintech along with that gives us the time, gives the people the money they want to make in profit margin, but also makes it comfortable for the end customer, then what that's going to do is make this thrive. Because I think, this is just me, I think that's why we're going through this, is because we got to get the financial, the spiritual, and the actual all to align.
So if you don't buy toothpaste, it can actually be financially good for you, because then you don't have to worry about teeth and going to the dentist anymore.
Use baking soda instead.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you brush your teeth once a week whether you need it or not.
Yeah, good. Arkansas here.
Yeah, I was about to say Arkansas.
Yeah. So Greg, tell us about, like, I think you have a new book that you're working on.
Yeah, it's been slow because I'm still trying to promote the first one that I wrote.
And Greg Smith, by the way, is a best-selling author.
Yeah.
The battery-powered home.
Self-proclaimed.
And I'm telling you, Amazon bestseller, that wasn't me. I beat out Uglies for like 3 weeks, so I'm happy. And Blair wrote one of the best reviews for my book ever, and he sent me one of the best pictures. He was on a boat. He had his nasty, like, hobbit feet in the background holding my book, and I was like, that is awesome. I'm putting that on my website.
All right. Can I go in there and see those?
Yeah, it's on my author's
Do you want
page.
Blair? Can you show us your feet?
Oh, right.
I want to see what's going on.
Here we go.
No.
I didn't know we were going to digress this much, but I'm loving it.
Is it a sequel, though? What are you writing about?
So, and I've been asked many times to do an off-grid book.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's like the first one I wrote, you just add a few more things to it and it'd be all right. Eventually I want to get to like all my sea stories and write those down before I get too old to remember them, or stretch them out to where they're like nobody's going to ever believe that happened. So I don't know, we'll see.
Can Sean and I add our feet to your next book?
I know. I think I'll just do my right one.
Yeah, and I'm not a foot guy. Like I was just noticed that picture was really cool.
Okay.
That went somewhere I did not expect.
Yeah. So Greg's book is the battery-powered home, and my most recent book is the PV building and fire code book. And what's do you have a name for your next book?
No. That usually, just like my first one, the title came almost when I was done with the book.
Yep. And then the 2026 NEC is coming out too.
Oh.
And aren't you guys excited about that?
That's why we have you. That's why we have you.
And so I'm going to take the NEC with Bill Brooks, and we're going to make it super funny and exciting, like we usually do.
Is there anything spicy coming down in 690?
Oh, it's nasty. You know, the way that the electrons go, and the like we're going to have like special alternate acronyms and things like that.
No.
It's just going to be like, it'll be like X-rated.
Acronym soup, more acronym soup.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's all right.
Sounds riveting.
But that's how we talk anyway. You know, that way we can talk and text each other easier about code because we have the acronyms and we don't have to spell everything out.
And speaking of acronyms, I just want to straighten people out. What an acronym is something that you can sound out. So in other countries, they call the NEC the NEC. That's an acronym. NEC is not an acronym. So just so everybody knows, right? You know.
All right, great.
That was a thing that makes you go,
I bet most people probably didn't know that. I have to straighten them out. Yeah. Got to keep it positive, though. And so other things that are positive, I know that like July 4th, Independence Day.
That's my birthday.
Is that your birthday?
Woo, get some roll cuts. Number 44, that's me.
And we all got a present on your birthday. that was, some kind of bill, and we're going to overcome that. And it's like you can just tell by the energy. I don't know. Is this the biggest RE Plus ever? I think probably. It seems like it.
It's not. Actually, I was looking at the numbers. We had 40,000 attendees last year, and preliminary we have only 35,000. I mean, only 35,000. But
well, I'm sure at least another 5,000 are coming today, Greg. Yeah.
Well, they should have been here already.
They just count that as the weekend crowd that's coming to Vegas anyway. We just throw the numbers in there and it gives us where we need to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, only 35,000. I mean, that's still pretty good.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. It's a lot of solar nerds running around.
That's the town I live in. That's about how many people live there.
Really?
Yes.
I can't tell you the population of my town. I'm
6.
trying to keep it 6,969.
It's got to end in a 69, Greg, right?
Heber Springs. Look it up.
Okay.
So
does that include the raccoons?
Your question about the OBBB. Look,
thank you.
I was really actually pleasantly surprised how everything turned out. When you think about the policy that we've been having driving our industry forward in the country for the last decade or more, it's just been about deploy.
Yep.
And, just putting watts in the ground, slapping glass, and, fine, so be it. It's definitely helped the world as a result, but it has not been any sort of focus on reasonable manufacturing policy and driving our industry forward. And that is one of the really positive outcomes from the bill, is that we now have a framework that is going to help America regain an even more dominant position when it comes to leadership in manufacturing and clean energy. So, say what you will, politically one side or the other, but it's, I think, a fantastic outcome for our industry and is only going to make us all better.
Yeah,
it makes sense, too, because our grid is about 80 years old now. And if you live anywhere in America, usually summertime is, hey, fix stuff, roads and infrastructure. Now, this is a new way for us to bolster that infrastructure.
Yeah, I think the one outcome from all this, it's going to be tough. When I made a video on my dock, I was fishing. That was the one I caught at the very end. That was totally random.
That was perfect.
Did not have a plant out there.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah. But I think that because of the way things are going to change in January, there's going to be different ways to have to get things in people's hands. So you're talking about financing earlier. But I think that one of the side effects of this bill is that it's going to start weeding out all of the solar bros, right? You and I talk about that a lot. And I think it's, we're going to have to pivot from the way that we've done it now. And the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that focus on quality installs, upfront financing, customer education, all that kind of stuff. I think those are the things that are really going to separate out the bad weeds that we have in the industry right now.
And that's what I was referring to about the fintech. You got to get the financial part to where it's not killing people, it's not misleading people. People understand what they're getting on the roof and taken out of their pocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we have the least expensive energy out there, we can do it without all that stuff, But you do think about the other incentives too, for fossil fuels and stuff like that. There's a lot of them. It's nice to be able to use the atmosphere as a sink for all your pollution, and it's nice to be able to keep all those seaways open. Yep. So I guess Greg had part of that. He's a veteran, so
Oh, you were okay. I thought you were just talking in metaphors.
I mean, one thing to keep in perspective, you guys, is let's not forget that our competition is the retail price of electricity, right? And it is going up 20-30% over the coming decade. And so, look, as a result, it creates a whole lot more opportunity for our industry to continue to grow and evolve. And so, say what you will about ITC or not, but here's my hot take: don't sleep on balcony solar. I'm telling you. There's some 120 volt, 60 hertz micros out there now that are actually really nice, high quality. And when you imagine, an educated homeowner sees an electric bill go up that much over a 12-month, 24-month time period, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you spend $2,000 on an Amazon kit and go ahead and just figure it out?
And I've done a 180 on that. I was like, balcony solar, really, dude? 2 modules, But you do a little math, and if you can get the homeowner to start restraining their consumption, dude, it started making sense.
Yeah, without saying any particular manufacturers, we have solar generators that are in the market that came really to fruition during 2020 when people were trying to get outside and wanted their amenities. But if you adapt those, like you were saying, to a balcony, now if you pair it just right, it's a win-win.
Are you guys working for the balcony lobby?
Yes. You know, it's just apartment dwelling 101.
It's a generic term. What I'm going to put in my house is a little float out that goes in the pool during the wintertime. And so, you know, I'm not using it. Might as well. I'm going to put some photovoltaics out there, plug it into an outlet.
I never heard that.
Photovoltaic.
I think Greg could do a fishing trip with that, you know, a little bit of voltage out there. You know,
Yeah.
Stick in that positive terminal.
My dock only gets sun after like 1 o'clock, so I could
You got
probably
those
get
hills,
that.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
hills and trees. And the occasional heron that likes to drop bombs on everything. Big ones.
Sounds like a nice life. Greg.
All right, so what's in the future of training in your book, Sean, besides code?
Code with a capital C is from the NEC. Code with a lowercase c is from the International Code Council. So which code are you talking about?
Which one are you more comfortable with?
I like them all. I mean, it gives me business. You know, it's like the more complicated they make it. I was sitting in a NEC meeting, and they were going over like what people wanted in the next code, and I was thinking to myself, it's like, yeah, make it more complicated so I get more business. You know, make electricity more expensive so we all get more business. You know, there's a lot of stuff that that'll benefit us, and I guess I kind of joke about a lot of this stuff. And but yeah, like I'm doing the NABCEP certification thing, preparing people for NABCEP exams. That's like my main thing, and I think that you guys are all into the NABCEP thing, and we just talked to Sean O'Brien on the podcast and things like that, and so that's kind of my thing, is getting people NABCEP certified. And if you're not NABCEP certified, you dumb. No, okay. Get yourself NABCEP certified. I think I see a whole bunch of people. Raise your hand if you're NABCEP certified. All right.
Oh, wow. Look at, way in the back.
That was 35,000 people.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It's great to be speaking at a place with 35,000 people, even though we've got a minute left here. So let's just go through. We got everybody just say your name and what you're in a quick sentence.
My name is Emmett Muckles. I provide fractional training and a podcaster with the What's Up Solar Podcast.
What's up, Emmett? And what's up, Blair?
I'm Blair Reynolds. I'm a product manager. I make solar in America.
My name is Greg Smith. I'm the training director for Tygo.
And my name is Sean White, and I'm with the Sean White Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. And I want to thank you for joining us here at the Power Up Live stage, presented by Wartsila Energy Storage and produced by SunCast Media. So thanks so much for letting us come up here and degrade your stage and have a great time and a lot of fun at RE+, and let me do all these podcasts in the podcast booth. It's been a really great show, and I also want to thank Nico Johnson, who's like super busy because he can
Always.
talk.
Yeah,
talk
buddy.
And talk and talk and talk.
Looking good.
I think he's got like 50 guests. Is that right, Nico? Like, something like that. It's like more than you can count. It's next year. I'm sure he's going to get all 35,000 of you, though.
Yeah.
So so thanks a lot for having us, and peace out, man. Yep. Woo.
Wow, thank you, Sean. How great was that? And how great are these guests, right?
These are the best guests ever.
I would say so. I would say so. Yeah. Well, please, no one go anywhere. We've got a really great segment coming up here with Nico Johnson and the CEO of MGM Transformer, Doug Banty. This is a can't miss. They're going to be talking about bottlenecks, and they're talking about how the U.S. transformer manufacturing is powering our AI and clean energy boom. This is a can't miss segment. MGM is doing some truly revolutionary things when it comes to transformers. So stick around, and we will be right back here after we get all set up and sound check. Thanks.
We are live once again at the Power Up Live stage here in RE Plus 2025. I'm Nico Johnson, your host. Power Up Live is brought to you by Wärtsilä Energy Storage. We also have some amazing sponsors in TrueGrid, MGM, Fluence, and ABC. We've got some wonderful supporting sponsors, and it has been a wild show. We are bringing it home across the finish line with a few more impactful conversations. I've actually been looking forward to this one for really all week. And Doug, I know you've been busy over at the Yada show, so we had to wait until Thursday to get your takeaways. You know, clean energy is in the news a lot right now around AI, scaling data centers. The critical question is, can we get enough transformers built, delivered, and online fast enough? If you haven't been watching what's going on with MGM Transformers and the recent merger that now created Forgent, we're going to talk about all of that. Doug Banty is the former CEO of MGM, now EVP of Forgent, and he split his time this week, as I mentioned, between RE Plus and the Yada Data Center Conference. We're going to talk all about his view from the front row of the pressure points and the opportunities that are shaping our grid today. Doug, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, as we had Ben on last year to talk about just the splash that MGM is making. But you know what's interesting is that MGM is not a new company. It's a long-standing heritage of making critical infrastructure right here in America. So why don't we start there? Talk a little bit about the history, the heritage of MGM in a minute or two, and then I want you to explain what Forgent is and why now is the right time for that to come about.
Sure, I'm happy to. So MGM is really two brands. It's MGM and Vantran Transformers. Both are pure play transformer companies. MGM has been around since 1974, so we're a 50-plus-year-old company. Vantran's actually been around longer. It's been around since 1963, so we're up above 60 years for Vantran.
Yeah.
And so they were both founded by engineers. It was a technical founder, and they survived for many, many decades as sort of bespoke transformer companies. In 2024, the summer, MGM acquired Vantran. So we put them together into one company. The industrial logic of that deal was MGM was very focused on dry-type transformers. Right. Vantran was an oil-filled player, and our customers need both. Yeah. Right. And so it was a sort of an emergent strategy. It was driven by what our customers needed. They needed both, and so we acquired Vantran. We put the two companies together. We built an enormous amount of capacity over the last 12 months. Yeah. Really to just serve our customers better. Forgent is an extension of that, right? And so we've been supplying transformers for a very long time. Our customers have been asking for more and more breadth of our product offering. They're asking for switchgear, they're asking for e-houses, they're asking for fully skidded solutions. And so Forgent addresses that need. Okay, and so so Forgent is the combination of 4 different companies. It's MGM, Vantran, and then a company called PowerCube, which is based out of Maryland, and States Manufacturing, which is based out of Minnesota. PowerCube makes low voltage switchgear. So think there's a lot of different form factors. Think PDUs and RPPs and tap boxes, switchboards, et cetera. And then States focuses on medium voltage switchgear, as well as e-houses and then fully skidded solutions. And so if you put those 4 companies together and you look across them, we offer effectively a full powertrain solution for the end markets that we're serving. Right. And so if you think about data center, and you think about from the utility step down all the way to the rack, we can effectively provide every piece of equipment. If we can't make it ourselves, we can buy it out. We can provide a full package. If you think about the renewable space with BESS and solar, we're moving in that direction as well. And so that's the industrial logic. Our customers have been asking for more. We want to provide a one-stop shop. We are a speed company. We're an execution. Right. We are a certainty of supply. And that's what we're going to do, but we're going to do it across a more broad portfolio of products. And interestingly, we've been part of the same ownership group over the last couple of years. So we are not new. We have
all 4 companies, you mean?
Exactly. So we have been brother, sister companies. We've been working with them. I know the CEOs of those other companies very, very well. And so this sort of happened organically. And so what Forgent is the parent company that more or less formalizes that relationship and helps us execute against that plan.
Are the individual brands going to remain the same, or are you guys ultimately going to merge into Forgent?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for the time being, all the brands are going to remain the same. If you look at our website, you'll see the 4 different brands and the 4 logos, and it's a combination of the 4. Over time, that might change. I don't know, but there's no immediate plan to move away from any of the brands, particularly on the transformer side. MGM and Vantran will remain.
You've talked about a lot of the synergies. What are some of the non-obvious advantages that customers would notice now with 4Gen in the market?
It's just a reduction of execution risk.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a second order effect, right? A lot of people can say they offer a big portfolio of products, right? There's large OEMs, there's the Schneiders, the Eatons of the world. We're going to do something similar, but we're going to do it from a sort of a combination of very, very fast-moving, execution-focused companies, and sort of a bottoms-up way, right? And so that's it. That's the name of the game. We want to move really fast. And we could talk about what's happening in the data center space and even here. I mean, things are moving incredibly, incredibly fast. And so the market needs a company that can offer everything and do it really, really quickly and execute against what they promise. And that's what we're doing.
Well, it's almost counterintuitive for some that a transformer company would be talking about moving fast. So I just want to hit on maybe the elephant in the room. Historically, it doesn't really matter how fast you can bring a project online unless you know the deadline for when you're going to get your transformers. Are we still looking at a market that's constrained by this presumed bottleneck of transformers?
Not as much as it used to be.
Yeah.
Well, just to back up, transformers is a very broad term, right? There's power transformers that are as big as a stage. There's transformers that can fit on the
power computer,
right, on your fingertip. And so when you read in the Wall Street Journal that there's a transformer shortage, that is a very, very broad statement without a lot of nuance to it. The power transformers are still, there's a bit of a supply crunch with those. There's a lot of overseas folks that are coming into the U.S. You can track all the import data, and they're starting to solve that problem. But power transformers are still hard to get your hands on. That has not fully corrected. The distribution transformer market has corrected a little bit sooner than that. Yeah. So in a post-COVID world, there was huge bottlenecks, and lead times went up to 100+ weeks, and everybody was talking about them. Elon Musk was talking about them. Those have come down quite a bit. Folks have brought on capacity, and the supply chain has normalized to a certain degree. And so, our lead times are not as low as they will be in the future. Yeah. It's not a completely solved problem, but it's not as acute a pain point as it was maybe a couple years ago. And even, I mean, we brought on an enormous amount of capacity just last year. So
that's right. You opened a new factory.
Exactly. Yeah, we built over 500,000 square feet in Waco, Texas. Yeah. We started shipping in Q4 of last year, and then we've been ramping production since then. And so it is probably one of the largest transformer factories in North America, certainly the most modern.
Yeah, right? But can it keep up with Chris and Ben?
That's true. Ben, he is.
You might have the best sales team in the industry.
I know. Ben, when I hired Ben, the first thing he said is double the factory. Right? He had no idea how big it was. He said double the factory, and he was not wrong.
That's right.
He's doing a great job. The whole team has done an incredible job.
I don't think there's a single team in the industry that's hired more rock stars, like literal rock star, just like top performers than MGM. And it's one of those things where like the industry sort of turned around and went, what, a transformer company just hired all these guys that are just killers in the sales team? And it's like, and it's awesome, like all the way down the roster. You got Abby over. It's like, it's a great team. My hat's off to you.
Let me do a quick plug.
Sure, go for it.
We are still hiring.
Are you?
And so if you are a rock star and a killer and you want to come work for MGM Transformer,
you
call me, you call Ben, and we'll take care of you. But it's an incredible team. What they've done is totally blew expectations out. To answer your question, though, we can keep up. The factory is very large and scaled.
I appreciate that you remember the question at hand.
Just to be crystal clear, we can keep up, and we're gonna continue to scale both sides in a responsible way.
That's good. We were saying before we came on stage that the Yada Energy Conference, which is more of a data center focused conference in its second year, kind of looks like maybe a decade behind RE Plus in scale. Contrast the conversations that you're having on the floor here versus what you sort of engaged in over at Yada.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yada is the data center conference. Yeah. It's across the strip. All they are talking about is energy.
Yeah.
Right? All they are talking about is power and how we're going to get power. Over here, all the folks are talking about at RE Plus, at least in the circles that I'm in, is what's happening with data center and what is this demand and is it sustainable and is it growing?
Everybody over here is saying, what are they saying over there?
Yeah, so they're talking about each other from across the strip. Really what we need to do is pull the two conferences together under the same roof and we should all talk to each other.
That would be very smart, especially if they're going to co-locate again.
Yeah, so our business is, we serve a lot of different end markets. Renewables and data center represent the majority of our business. So we're sitting at both tables, but being a bit facetious, but at Yada, primary concern is power, without a doubt.
Right.
It is on everybody's mind. It is the gating item to continue building data centers. The data center build out is not going to stop. It's not going to slow down.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, this is something that we're not talking about 3 or 4 years and we achieve the goal. This is maybe 2-3 decades.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an existential crisis for the data center companies to build, right? Because,
but it's also, I look at it as well, like Doug, you and I, like Ben is a great example. Like Ben and I both got into the renewables industry as where solar was a place you could finally build a career, right? And there's never been a better time to be a power or energy expert where an industry so needed those skills.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
absolutely.
like the next 20 years, the folks that have been just like really leaning in and honing their skills have more than enough opportunity for work.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's how I ended up here. I was working for Bain & Company as a consultant. I was working for a utility company back in 2019.
Okay.
The conversations in the room were just super exciting. They were talking about renewable energy, data center demand, EV demand, grid hardening, et cetera. There was more happening in the space, the sort of sleepy utility space, than I ever imagined. I got very excited and I came, joined a transformer company just to really get access to this world. But I agree with you. I think this is the biggest thing happening. You could argue this is the only thing happening.
Right. What do you think is the disconnect, if there is one, between expectations around performance and risk at data center level versus the work that you traditionally engage in, or that you've learned sort of is the renewables sector, right? There's a lot of distinctions.
Yeah, if you think about the data, like if you think about the hyperscalers and what they're trying to do, they have AI to them is the biggest market ever.
Yeah,
right.
It is the biggest market ever.
If you size it, like conservatively, you size it as like labor's percentage of global GDP. It's like multiple trillions of dollars is the addressable market. Not to suggest that it's going to, eliminate all the jobs, but huge market, great unit economics, and first mover advantages.
Right.
They think, right? So it's going to be a winner take all, or a couple of winners take most, or whatever it plays out. That's what they believe, or at least they believe that there's a chance that it'll play out that way. And so they are operating under the impression that this is it's an existential crisis. It is something that they have to do. They have to do it as fast as possible. It's like I don't know how to. I can't overstate how quickly they're moving with a sense of urgency. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before. So they are time constrained and they are capacity constrained, and all else falls second, distant second behind those two things. It is all about execution and scale and speed. And again, that's why we built Forges, largely for this dynamic. But that's how they're thinking about it. The renewable space is a little bit different. There's not, you don't feel, there's certainly a sense of urgency. I don't want to suggest that there's not, but you don't feel crisis level urgency to bring power online. It is a markedly different.
Well, the closer we get to December, you feel more and more crisis.
That's true. Yeah, we are creating crises, but not as much sort of demand driven or existential risk driven. So that's kind of the feeling I get. And so to answer your question more directly, there it's all about execution, it's about speed, it's about capacity, it's about scale, and how are we going to just do that? Here it's a much more rounded discussion, right? It's a cost, it's tariff impact, it's all these different things, and so.
If I'm a project developer trying to think about how to break into the data center market, is there, where are people making mistakes at trying to wrap their hands around how to serve the data center market as a renewables developer?
I don't know.
Not sure yet?
It's a good question.
Yeah. They haven't surfaced yet. I appreciate someone who's willing to say, I don't know, on the stage, by the way. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I could probably guess.
Yeah. I'm not asking you to guess. I'm just curious if things have surfaced that you've observed, and if they haven't, that's just one of those questions.
Yeah. My guess would be it's around speed and execution more than anything else. That's
well,
it.
The good news is that renewables is the fastest deployable generation on the planet. Yeah.
Yep, by far.
By factor, by order of magnitude.
Yeah, it's the answer.
Yeah.
Like if you bridge the power that's needed versus what exists, even if you don't retire any assets or do any of those things, there's an enormous gap, and the only way to bridge the gap is with renewables. Like you can't do it with gas turbines. You're not going to do it with diesel. You're not going to do it with coal. You're not like nuclear. Who knows?
Yep.
And so it's the obvious answer. We need to get under the same roof, I think.
Yeah, there's your clip, Allie. I'm curious if there are specific infrastructure level conversations that you're having with your developers in terms of setting expectations of what they need to have in their design framework. Like, is there anything you've learned this week that helps you set that expectation with your customers?
Just from a transformer design
exactly.
perspective. Yeah, I mean, we're constantly iterating on the transformer design. Like the transformer technology hasn't changed in a huge way over the last 100 years, right?
Yeah.
It's old technology, but we engineer everything that we make. We don't pull anything off a shelf. There's no standard SKUs. It's all engineered to order.
Yeah.
And so, every time there's changes in the infrastructure, whether it's line harmonics, inverters, and batteries, and all these things make things complicated. And so we are iterating on the existing technology, and that's an everyday conversation for us.
Yeah.
And so we could get into the nitty-gritty details if you'd like. But I'd say there's nothing huge. There's nothing that's changing the core technology of the transformer. But we're an engineering company first, which may be a little counterintuitive, because it's thought to be older technology, but constantly innovating.
Well, here's something I'm wondering, because you guys do serve a lot of data centers. Mm-hmm. Do data centers, are they custom spec projects where everything is engineered for that site? There's nothing repeatable, nothing SKU-based that's kind of off the shelf that they're pulling in?
It's changing very rapidly, driven by rack densities.
Yeah.
So if you think about every NVIDIA chip, we're at the H100 now, every NVIDIA chip has higher and higher wattage at the rack.
Right.
And we're looking at a kilowatt at the rack very soon, right?
Wow.
And so every time you do that, you have to effectively reinvent the entire powertrain.
Jesus.
Same basic parts, right? You've got switchgear, you've got a UPS, you've got transformers.
Yep.
But you have to just keep engineering it. It's a very, very fast cycle time.
Right.
Innovation.
In terms of months, weeks?
Yeah. Every project. I mean, you can read the news. I mean, they were making. Now we're making gigawatt data centers.
Right.
A couple of years ago, it was several orders of magnitude less than that, and it's going to keep going up. Facebook just announced, I think it was 5 or 10 gigawatts. I don't remember. But every time they do that, and every time the rack density increases, and then there's all sorts of innovations on the cooling side, which impact the electrical side, and so we're constantly cycling.
Yeah. And we had, I'm blanking on the guy's name that was on the panel at ACP in June. I ended up having him on afterwards, and he went really deep. So I'll link for folks that want to really understand how the data centers are put together. It was a fascinating discussion that included you on that panel. But I learned a lot, and I think that's exactly where most developers in the industry are, just in that learning mode, trying to understand better how to serve that customer, because it's something that's it's really not the same customer profile or load profile that we've been used to serving. I'm wondering,
I would just build big, build fast, double it. You should
double
do
it, like Ben.
You should do what Ben Macias. You should double it, I think is the answer.
That's hilarious. Well, I'm wondering, as we wrap here, if there's one lesson that I would take away, walking away from this session or this week. What do you think is that one step that I can take to make my projects move faster, save weeks, or if not, days, weeks, months off my next project?
I don't have anything novel on that. It should be a partnership model. Engage very early. Be open about requirements. That's it. I mean, for us, our best customers we've had for decades, right? And so we know exactly what their pipeline is going to be for several years out into the future. We can carve out capacity for them. We can have open conversations about what things are going to look like going forward, and that is how you de-risk a schedule.
So while that doesn't sound novel in an industry where people are constantly whoring themselves out to the lowest price, I think that it really does matter that folks choose someone that they work with for decades, right? And what we've seen is that in the times where we have constraints like high demand, low availability, it is the folks that have been consistently coming back to you working like a two-way street. They get allocation.
Yeah.
And also they get the best price, but mostly get allocation. We both know it's not. When you've got the EDFs of the world they'll commit and they'll work with you for 3, 4, 5 years. They're not asking you for the lowest price. They're asking you for the date that you'll deliver it, right? Yeah. And that's what matters. Yep. And that's what the data centers ultimately want. They also aren't so concerned about the lowest price. They want to know that when it comes online, it's going to stay online, and you're going to get it there on the day that you told them you would.
Yep, that's how we operate. That'll be my second plug of the podcast. If you are a developer who wants a multi-year relationship, call me.
There you go.
Because that's what we look for. That's how we go to market.
But don't call MGM. Call Forgent.
Call Forgent.
Indeed. Doug Banty is the new EVP of the newly formed Forgent, a conglomerate now of 4 titans in transformer and power conditioning technology.
Exactly.
Doug Banty, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Pleasure conversation. And thank you all for joining us on our journey towards the last numbers. I think I just went off.
Hey everybody, this is Emmett Muckles. You know what? Check this out. I don't want that hat. Let's get it out of here. Keep it real. Hey, welcome to Power Up Live Stage. And we want to give a special shout out to SunCast Media, Vartsela Energy Storage, on the Power Up Live Stage here at RE Plus 25, celebrating 25 years of being in the industry and keeping us together. My name is Emmett Muckles, and I am the creator of the What's Up Solar podcast. Thank you, Nico, for having me, and fractional training with SE Power Consulting. You know, one of the things that brought me here was the fact that there's this little niche market that is not really being brought out. And this gentleman here, he and I have partnered with some projects as the fractional training aspect of my life comes into play. His name is AJ Rossman, and AJ Rossman really gets into data. You don't hear it like you should, because if your data's not right, your money is not green. So let's remember that. Hey AJ, how you doing?
Thanks, Emmett.
So let's talk about this. You brought up this thing to me called DAS Rescue. Now, why would a DAS need to be rescued?
Well, you know, I mean, we're at 25 years here at RE Plus, right? And a little over 20 years was my first commercial industrial data acquisition project on a 200 kilowatt array. And since then, there are tens of thousands of these commercial industrial PV arrays that are getting older. And what we've learned in the data acquisition world is the same thing we learned in solar, that you need operations and maintenance. And the better you do the operation and maintenance, the better quality your data is and the lowest cost of your data, and therefore sometimes the lowest cost of your energy. So, you know, we've seen a lot of different business models in the industry. We've seen a lot of carnage out there. We've seen a lot of proprietary systems come and go. And what we've learned is that we really need to have open technologies and open standards to be able to really, you know, bring the cost down of the data side of the equation. And that we see a lot of customers in pain that they're locked into providers, or they can't get access to their data, they're locked out of their data. And, you know, so
wait a minute,
we go in.
Hold on. How can you get locked out of your own stuff?
You don't pay your subscription.
Oh, it's kind of like cable,
or you don't have somebody that can fix it. You know, sometimes people pay a lot of money and they still don't get their data.
So let me
system.
bring this back. We're here at RE Plus 2025, right? Mm-hmm. So we got PV systems out there that have been kind of mirroring this journey that RE Plus has been on. Mm-hmm. Now, most of us said, hey, this stuff is going to last a lifetime. Set it and forget it. You don't have to worry about it. And this is particularly commercial applications, correct?
Yep.
But as time goes on, technologies change, particularly when it comes to communication. We had 3G sunset a couple of years ago.
Yep.
These could cause problems for your data, is what you're saying.
Well, all kinds of things. I mean, as the technologies evolve, you know, think about your if you're put in your PV power plant in 2012, think about your laptop from that age, right? Do you want that on the internet reporting your data? You know, no. I mean, everything needs to be updated. Everything, you know, needs to be cleaned up. You don't need to rip and replace these data systems. It's just too expensive. You go, you know, it took a lot of time and effort to get it right, and then it kind of went out of spec, and now it's time to just kind of tune it up and update it with a couple key components, and, you know, squeak out the end of the life of your power plant with getting good data.
So who's your perfect customer? Who's a perfect customer for their DAS being rescued?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the owners, it's their assets, but it's all the stakeholders that keep that asset generating money, because we keep the data flowing so that everybody else can do their job.
You know, people don't think about data. They think about slap, get the site up, maybe some O&M, but you rarely hear the conversation about this data flow. Now, and the reason I'm posing this is because we've come into a literal data age. You have people who are talking Python, they are talking about data centers and this data flowing, and you would think that would translate into our industry where we would focus in on data. but it seems like we haven't. And that's why I'm so intrigued with you and your process with DAS Rescue, because that's keeping old data and bringing it into the now.
Yeah, I mean, I would, disagree that we haven't done a lot with data. There are a lot of really good third-party monitoring platforms, asset management platforms, but they're only as good as the data that feeds them. And everybody just kind of assumes that you're going to, the earth to cloud aspect just happens, and it doesn't. It's a rough, metering is a contact sport. It's, and it's the most important part of it all. And, you really need to have, good systems in place, best practices in place, good wire management, good communications, all of these things. The data systems, the weakest link is, can destroy the whole chain. So we look at it end to end.
So when we talk about rescuing sites, or what are the typical sizes, locations? Who is right for this?
Well, we're focused in the U.S. for any kind of distributed generation, typically between a couple hundred to a couple hundred kilowatts to a couple megawatts. Anywhere where you have, data gateways, weather stations, maybe some protection equipment, but not full SCADA. And we work with regional operations and maintenance providers to do the field work, and we remotely support them for a full package so that, in not a lot of time, we can get you getting good data that you can trust again.
You made me, you might have seen the light bulbs kind of go off in the top of my head. And it's not just because I'm bald and it's glaring off the light. But there are some things that you just said that most people don't think about. When we think data, we think of kilowatt hours, and that's what the industry is like, kilowatt, 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 kilowatt. But you said you're looking at the sensors, you're looking at the pyrometers, you're looking at wind sensors, you're looking at maybe even ground moisture. So does your product ingest all that information so that they can own it?
Well, we go into existing data acquisition systems and fix them. And we can enhance them if there's new data, but for us, the number one thing is the production meter. That's what people get paid on. And then on top of that, it's always good to have the inverter data. If you know something's wrong, it's better to know what it is before you go out in the field. We always talked in the industry for 20 years, saving truck rolls. Well, it's been kind of funny that sometimes the data systems have caused more truck rolls than they've saved. And, that was kind of a blemish in the industry that we'd kind of like to clear up. It's a little chip on the shoulder when these systems weren't installed right.
The one thing that always sticks out to me, when I met you, you said, Emmett, we're doing DAS Rescue. And I was like, dun, 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 dun. I actually felt that. What's the backstory of this? Because it sounds like a superhero thing.
Well, you had a lot of people that had a lot of ambitious goals and what we wanted to do with data and how data was going to help everybody, right?
Yeah.
And then with how challenging these data acquisition installs were, and by the way, one of the things was because we didn't do proper field training for the people to install them, right? And now we're dealing with that, but we can, kind of clean that up. But, once you got to the point where the data acquisition system cost more than its benefit, that was kind of a dream that kind of went wrong, right? So even though, things have changed, it's time to go back and kind of, be able to go and collect good data.
So you're saying when, we typically think of O&M as truck rolls because, hey, there's a bird nest on my modules, we got goats and they're jumping on our modules for vegetation, but very rarely do you hear the thought about O&M just for rectifying data problems.
Oh, there are plenty of truck rolls where people lose access to their data and they're flying blind and they send somebody out there to just push a button. And a lot of it's because it's older technologies that aren't really working that well with each other. And, we take advantage of today's technologies with the existing infrastructure that's out there to, just tune up the system so that you can, use it for the life of the project. And, you know, like I said, we always had that dream of using the data, and then we need to kind of bring that dream back to life.
So do people need to be educated more on just kilowatt, 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 kilowatt? Do you think we need to broaden out the scope to understand the totality of the data so that we know what good data is?
Well, you know, the asset managers that are responsible for the portfolio, like a lot of the CNI portfolios, they definitely look at it. They get frustrated when they're dealing with bad data or no data or other things where they, you know, they spend all their time essentially data wrangling bad data as compared to spending the time to figure out the troubleshooting the power system, right? And so we, you know, again, like all of the, you know, we just use best practices in the industry. We use field inspection reports. You know, we use solar grade field inspection software to make sure that we get all the information for the site that we need, and that we can minimize the amount of time that we have to be on site, so that you know, to save money.
There is a movement that is afoot, and we're talking about the specific aged installations out there. There's a repower movement that is happening or gaining momentum. Is this a part of that, or is this an augmentation that you can implement in addition to?
Well, what we'd recommend is before doing the repowering, you know, making sure that you have a good data set so that you can see before and after the repowering, you know, what did it do? And you know, our systems have the flexibility that you don't have to rip it out if you rip out the old system, but you might find out that that old system is fine, you just didn't know what was wrong with it, and you can fix it, right? Because
that's a good point.
You know, I mean, there are definitely some assets out there that need to go, but there are also a lot of them that were built very well that just, you know, went into a little bit of disrepair, and people didn't have the right data to figure out what's going on, and then let's just rip it out. Well, that's everything from the carbon accounting to the pure financial economics. You know, you're not sure until you really can quantify, you know, what improvement you're going to get with the new power system.
So with the DAS Rescue, you're not ripping out the entire thing and putting in something new.
No.
You're using a lot of the infrastructure that is already there to gather the data and so that you can access it.
Oh, yeah. And then a lot of the older sites, they're really, you know, with especially like in the old Draker sites, we had 24 by 36 inch stainless steel enclosures. You know, it's like, why would you want to rip that out to put in a little fiberglass enclosure or something like that? You know, the infrastructure's there, you know, the conduit's there, everything else. It's just time to make sure that you're upgrading the brain, right? The main microprocessor, the gateway, and, you know, and then making sure that you're communicating with sensors and everything else to get the data that you need. You know, as we know, every site is a little unique, but we've tried to figure out how to
just a skosh.
Get it out. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I remember back in the day, they had Aqua Suites, they had this, they had modem, they had 3G modems, they had Ethernet. There was a plethora of things, and they were different for each site. Mm-hmm. You remember when I came up to visit you, and I was like, hey, yeah, I went to the Ben & Jerry's site, and I remember moving a wire, and it communicated, but it was a totally different thing. When you're talking to CFOs and owners and managers, how do you sell them on data assurance? Because, like, data is not a thing unless you're, I'd say, new generation.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. You have to honestly look at what is the cost of your data, right? And from sending technicians out to Band-Aid and keep old systems alive, how many hours are your data scientists or your analysts, you know, using bad data and trying to figure it out? You know, how much anxiety is caused by the sites that you can't see? You know, we have a fixed price that is extremely reasonable for it, and you know, you can now at least, you know, be assured that somebody is standing behind you with that data acquisition system, not just selling you parts, not just selling you web services. You know, we're not the SaaS provider. We're just helping get data from the earth to the cloud in a way that's trustworthy and totally transparent. And then allow the innovation from the AI, from all the different SaaS providers, allow that to explode with good data as trying to figure out how to figure out bad data. I think it's just fundamentally going and cleaning house with, you know, one of the foundations of your, you know, of your system, which is your
that's
data.
One of those things that came to me as you and I have known each other for quite a few years, is I never thought about bad data. How do you get bad data versus good data? And bad data is stuff that affects your bottom line, or not reporting right, or, for instance, it drops out.
Yep.
And one thing that I noticed that there are a lot of subscriptions in the marketplace. Is this a subscription model? How does that work?
No subscription at all. We are completely different from a SaaS model in that we are going in as a service and updating these services or updating these data acquisition systems. We stand behind it for a year, in which case, it's typically running pretty well, and we don't charge any fees for access. The technologies we use allow you to access your data for the remainder of the life of the project. And there are a lot of third-party subscriptions out there that add tremendous value on asset management and other things. And we just want to make sure that people are getting the most out of those subscriptions, right?
Yeah.
By feeding, the first thing you learn in computer science, garbage in, garbage out, right? And even with AI, it's like more garbage in, more garbage out,
Yeah. Yeah. You made me think about my own ChatGPT and my therapy. No, I'm just kidding. What about Orange Button? You hear about the Orange Button. The Orange Button has tried to standardize solar data for years.
Yep.
Years ago. How does DAS Rescue think about interoperability and data standards today?
Yeah, and I think that's an extremely important piece because we're at scale. As an industry, people own hundreds and thousands of these commercial assets. And to have to go in and figure out the names of everything is just kind of ridiculous, right? So Orange Button's been around for a while on what I would call kind of the asset metadata, what the banks need for large portfolios. A couple years back, working with Heliovolta, we expanded Orange Button to field inspection data, so you can come out of solar grade and have a solid data structure. And recently, Orange Button has time series data definitions in the Orange Button TS, where now we can have the same data names that are coming from a plane of array irradiance sensor across your entire portfolio, which, in a lot of aspects in data science, people estimate that about 90% of the time is data wrangling. We want to make that zero. And standards are the only way to do that.
All right, so we've talked about the infrastructure. We've talked about, is it a subscription? We've talked about bad data. We've talked about good data. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Electricians, they deal with AC and DC voltage, typically higher, a couple hundred volts, maybe as low as 12 volts in some cases, but typically DC side up to 1,500 volts, AC side up to 480, sometimes 800 volts that we're dealing with. But DAS Rescue requires networking and chops and IT skills. How should an EPC, O&M company, or someone interested in DAS Rescue who's going to have a frontline person or a site owner think about training?
Yeah, well, so I think a lot of people just assume that a data acquisition enclosure is safe and that it's low voltage. And in many cases it is, but in a lot of cases it's not, because people integrate the energy meter in there. So you might have 480 volts. So if you for example, you open up an enclosure and you see brown, orange, yellow wires, that's not low voltage, right? And so it's really important that we need to train people that, this is the same as going into an inverter or anything else. So even though the gateway might be low voltage, you have to understand what's in that box and how to be safe. And that's why, with our DAS Rescue packages, we certify, our field techs to make sure that not only do they know what they're doing in general to get the data flowing, but that they're staying safe out on the job site.
And what about education from a different point of view? As I was saying before, electricians are used to dealing with AC voltages, large wire like 12 gauge, 10 gauge. They're not necessarily used to dealing with 22 or 20 gauge wire, making Cat5, understanding IP addresses. How do you address that and help this to stay stable?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a training program where, people can get hands-on experience in, how to crimp wires, things like that, how to network, how to set up static IP on your computer. running the gamut of it, because what we've noticed is that, we're starting to see training in the O&M side, but people still don't even know the basic components of most data acquisition systems or what they even do. So, part of our base training is just to understand what is a solar resource sensor and why do we use it.
Yep.
And, not that we have to go into the intricate details of the scientists of, of like reference cell versus, secondary standard pyranometer, but you should know what they are, and you should know why we use them and how to take care of them and how to maintain them. They've been, people just kind of got that system going, and they just shut that enclosure, genuflected, walked away, and just like, that's not a good way to run an asset for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's what we're finding.
So if someone has DAS headaches today, they have an older site, and this is strategically set for sites that are already in the field. These are not for new sites. This is a rescue of something that's been out there.
Yep.
If someone has headaches today, what's the first steps to finding out how they can rescue their data?
Yeah. Well, you can go to our website, www.smartrl.tech. There we've got some information on how to contact us. If you have a particular site in mind, it's, if you want to send us a site drawings, we can right away send you what it would cost to do a DAS rescue. Fixed price. And, we essentially project manage the thing and work with our certified field installers to make sure that it's a quality install.
So if an O&M company would like to add this to as a revenue stream, is that possible?
Yes. So we have field service providers, and we don't necessarily want to get on a plane to go fix a data acquisition system. That's even worse than an extra truck roll.
Yeah.
So, there are plenty of talented regional O&M providers that, we support them, right? So we train you and we support you throughout the whole process. And it can be a new revenue stream for some of these folks. We're very selective with who we choose, and that's how we feel is going to be the way to get these older systems back on their feet, and finally getting the benefit and the value that we envisioned 20 years ago.
So instead of doing truck rolls, you have trainings at your headquarters in Vermont?
Yes.
And do you plan to do any roadshow trainings, once you see interest?
In the past, with some of our new installers, that we can be on site to do, hands-on training.
Yeah.
And we're exploring what the options are. We understand that it is challenging to get to Vermont, but
it's pretty though.
But we have a great training facility that we love to have people up on. But we also understand that people are really busy and can't travel, so that we can, bring the training to them.
Okay.
And we're in conversations right now with a couple of great organizations for the more entry-level DAS training.
Okay.
Where people should be able to access that, pretty easily, hopefully by the end of the year.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for being a guest here at Power Up Live with me, Emmett Buckles of What's Up Solar Podcast and SE Power Consulting. Your fractional training needs, I can supply them. Thank you for joining us here. This is presented by Barsala Energy Storage and produced by SunCast Media. Thank you to Nico Johnson, his entire team. These guys are awesome, and I'm not just saying that because I like them. Till next time, peace.
Thank you, Emmett.
Hi there, my name is Ashley Linqua, Senior Manager of Transportation Electrification at the Smart Electric Power Alliance. Today, we're doing current conversations, a conversation about managed charging with my two speakers. Before we get into it, I'm actually just going to want to thank our sponsor for today for the Power Up Live stage at RE Plus in Las Vegas. The Power Up Live stage is presented by Wärtsilä Energy Storage. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, I'm going to move down the line. I want you to introduce yourself and, tell the folks why we're here. There's a lot to talk about managed charging, but, how do you fit into the whole entire conversation?
Sure. Thanks, Ashley. I'm Kyle Garden. I'm the head of product at WeaveGrid, and we're a software platform that particularly focuses on the challenge of managed charging, working in combination with distribution utilities as well as automakers and charging manufacturers, and then ultimately the drivers or end consumers that are important to make this happen. And so, yeah, we particularly fit in that middle spot of that software layer. You can think of it as a DERMS or a VPP specifically focused on the EV managed charging challenge. And we currently focus on North America in particular, but as EVs continue to grow and other DER resources continue to grow, both in the US and outside, we expect to expand further, but that's where we particularly fit into place right now.
And hey, I'm Matt Johnson. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Energy Hub. Similar to WeaveGrid, we're a DERMS, a distributed energy resource management system, so we sell our software platform to utilities to help them get value out of grid edge devices. We have a little broader purview in that we focus not only on EVs, but on other behind-the-meter assets like batteries, thermostats, commercial industrial assets, et cetera. We serve about 90 utilities around North America and work with about 80 distributed energy resource partners to bring the value of flexibility and managed charging both to utilities and to B2C companies putting connected devices in the hands of consumers.
Awesome. So to kind of set the stage a little bit for today and get a little bit deeper into it, rather than going into what is managed charging, I kind of wanted to ask the important question of, why does it actually matter? You traditionally talk about the fact that when folks go home, they plug in their car at the end of the night, and it becomes this ongoing habit. They may only actually need to charge for about 2, maybe 3 hours, and then you have that, 11 to 13 hours of flexibility for that, 13 to 15 hour time frame that it's parked in their driveway. So when we talk about that flexibility and the different opportunities, can you tell me a little bit about why the whole managed charging conversation really matters when it comes to these different vehicles?
Sure. There's a lot of details to go into.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to and love to geek out on that. But fundamentally, the challenge is that unmanaged charging breaks the grid as we know it. Right. The first thing is, there's a lot of hype right now around the AI data center load growth. Mm-hmm. That is a really important challenge. However, the EV charging load that is also coming online over the next 5 years, and as we've seen come online already, is actually a similar order of magnitude. Yeah. So although AI is a challenge for the grid, we shouldn't look away too much from EVs as the other real opportunity of load growth and ability to put downward pressure on rates. But fundamentally, if you do not manage this charging, that load growth, particularly on the low voltage distribution system within the grid, really starts to cause some challenges. Mm-hmm. And it's not dissimilar from what we've seen in solar and storage in prior years, where there's a lot of consumer-driven adoption, and you end up with these clustering effects where certain neighborhoods have really high penetration. But the difference is, solar and storage, there's an interconnection process. The utility gets a heads up about it. You can have certain interconnection agreements and get integrated with the DERMS and things like that, and have that control from day one. Mm-hmm. However, with electric vehicles, customers can just start plugging it in. Maybe they're plugging it into their dryer outlet, or even if they have an electrician and permits come to install level 2 chargers and things, it doesn't necessarily require interconnection agreements with the utility. So you have a lot less visibility, and it's a very different duty cycle that you see from that charging profile compared to a lot of other devices as well. And fundamentally, you're just going to start to overload that various assets, including service transformers on a low voltage distribution system. And the grid wasn't built for it fundamentally. So if you don't manage the charging well, you're going to end up with some serious challenges there.
Yeah, I like to say when people join Energy Hub that utilities like to plan for a very static grid. Mm-hmm. There's a certain amount of houses on a certain transformer or a certain substation. Electric vehicle basically draws as much load as a house when it is plugged in. So imagine if a house could unplug and drive around and then plug in somewhere else on the grid, and what havoc that would play with the grid over time. So I think it's a real challenge, but a real opportunity. The EV adoption is increasing, and we're at a real opportunity here where we can work with OEMs and utilities to do managed charging right, so that consumers kind of expect to participate in managed charging and provide value to the grid and derive value from the utility at the same time. So it's a good space to be in right now.
And I think through the years we've had a lot of conversations at RE Plus and RE Plus regionals about these deferred infrastructure upgrades for transformers and feeders being one of the main opportunities that we see when it comes to managed charging, whether you span that gauntlet of passive all the way over to managed, and we have that spectrum. So I kind of wanted to talk just a brief moment about, what actually motivates EV owners to participate. We were mentioning that people will plug in, you have all of this opportunity, but how do we actually get people to participate and make that switch? What's going on in that industry with customer behavior?
I think it's just making it easy is the number one thing, right? I mean, you want it simple to enroll, you want it to be cost effective for the consumer, you want it to not impact the primary use of the vehicle, which is not to provide grid service value, it is to provide mobility services. And if you can design a program and a user experience such that that happens, I think consumers, particularly consumers who are purchasing electric vehicles today, who are kind of more of a prosumer type, will embrace that approach. Conversely, if you design a managed charging experience that doesn't have good user experience, ignores the user, you don't see good managed charging adoption, and consumers just won't sign up. So I think that's a big driver there.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting market because we're arguably still in the early days. I mean, there has been a wave of early adopters where we're starting to hit mass market in certain pockets. The overall customer landscape is not uniform. There's different types of personas, and they have different needs when it comes to their mobility or energy bill and things like that. So we do, besides having that, you want to have a consistent and easy to understand program, as Matt mentioned, but then when you actually are educating those customers, different people do care about different things. So in some cases, it really is, what is my bill savings going to be? What's in it for me kind of from a monetary perspective? Others do want to make sure, okay, we're charging at the right times for the grid and helping with resiliency or renewables absorption and things like that. And ultimately there can be a good way to just have a set it and forget it experience and actually make this more of a utility for customers as well. If you have a really well-designed program and also able to integrate the various managed charging controls in systems that they're already using today, such as their automaker's app.
Yeah, for sure. And I think ease of access for customers with the set it and forget it, as we've been talking about, has definitely been critical. But there's been a lot of conversations about the cost savings aspect for folks. And I've seen, a wide range of different benefits that consumers have, ranging from, $5 for L1 or $10 for L2. And it's great to see that there's these different points that people come in at, giving them the flexibility to choose what kind of charger they want. And I think that's really critical. But sometimes we forget that despite all of the really great benefits that we've been trying to give for customers and the grid, we oftentimes forget, at least for the general public, what are the barriers and what's preventing us? If everything is so great, why aren't we already doing it? And I think that's the question at the back of a lot of people's minds. So I know that when we talk about, the constraints for transformers, just a quick quote, we have, I think 50-week lead time back in 2021 for transformers, and in 2024 that grew to 120 weeks. So when we're talking about the different opportunities for utilities and how we're jumping all into the pool, what are we talking about when it comes to the biggest friction points that you two have been seeing, separate and apart from all of these transformer lead times that we've been having issues with?
Where to start? I would say
I asked you the big question.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't want to make it sound all bad. There's plenty of great programs, great examples. We're seeing really high adoption, and really, as we've had, again, both early adopters from the utility side as well as consumer side, really get a lot of learnings and start to make it better. But there remains a lot of different friction points because this is a pretty complicated topic and a lot of different stakeholders here. As Matt mentioned, this isn't just a stationary DER where you get the interconnection agreement and just kind of set it and forget it. It is a mobility device first, and you need to meet those customers where they're at, and work with those partners on the automotive side and the charging station manufacturers, and really when it comes from both data as well as SLAs and commercial agreements and things like that is all very important. And again, there's a big part of this is so much data exchange. You want to do that in a very safe, secure, and trustworthy way. So there's a lot of work on that side, but all of that is also obviously applicable to the utility as well, and then bringing that all down to the customer, making sure they feel comfortably educated about this as well. So I would say there's many friction points just because there's so much to cover, but I think a lot of that is getting ironed out as we progress. And I think as you mentioned, it's great to see there are a lot of experience and a lot of options out there of the different types of program design, but I think ultimately simplifying that and having something closer to a standard of program design across different utilities will really help get that buy-in from the charging partners that we work with, as well as make it easier for consumers to understand.
Yeah, I think that is probably the most important point. We're working with both of our companies sit between kind of two immovable objects in regulated electric utilities and some of the largest car manufacturers on the planet. Both of them have very strong opinions about how things should be done. And so getting to simplifying program design so that we can easily go from utility to utility and say, this works, this is effective, OEM, you should enroll in this, you should make your vehicles available to this program because we know this works and you will have 50% of your customers sign up within X number of months, is what we need as an industry to get from dozens of programs to hundreds of thousands of programs around the country. And it's also what the OEMs and the EV charging manufacturers need because they want to make these programs available to all their customers, not just in pockets around the country. That's kind of how they operate.
Yeah, I really see that as like kind of one of the core chicken and egg issues of the industry, right? I mean, there's many times recently I've heard conversations where utilities asking like, hey, why don't we go education all the vehicle dealers, and like, get them to help enroll programs, because that's, that point of sale is a really good time to engage the customer and get them to understand all these things. And it's like, well, yeah, we'd love to, and that'd be great, but we need to have these programs that are scalable, but also easy enough for that car salesman to understand, right? Their business is selling cars, not selling these programs. So if you can make the program simple enough and repeatable enough so that we can train everybody in the fleet, great, but that's just not where we're at yet today. So there's a little bit of chicken and egg of, how do we make things simple enough to drive that adoption, but then also make it, that adoption high enough to be worthwhile to change the program design.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that when we look across the industry at electric vehicle adoption, we've been seeing different types, or I guess you could say solutions across that managed charging spectrum of passive all the way up to active that work depending upon the level of adoption. We're at lower EV penetration rates. We're seeing 2Us be really successful, and they're still going to be around in the interim until we start to get some smarter solutions out there. But we're also seeing that load balancing and other types of solutions have been very prevalent as we're working through this. Can you speak a little bit about any friction points that may exist between the program structure and how we're seeing different utilities kind of develop out what they've been offering?
I'm not sure if friction is the right term. I think utilities are just experimenting at this point. The whole industry is experimenting, and you're right, TOU will continue to be relevant. Passive has been kind of an early gateway for a lot of OEMs who maybe aren't ready for active managed charging yet, aren't set up for that capability-wise. I do think active managed charging will become more and more important over time as kind of a progression eventually to V2G, which we probably won't talk about much today, but that's kind of a natural evolution over time. So I think it's healthy for us to all be looking around. We can't get to standard program design before we figure out what the best program design is, right? And so I think that's a stage we should be comfortable at for the moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And to be fair, some of these friction points are very legitimate and reasons behind the scenes on some of this as well. So for instance, sometimes we do run into the challenge of maybe a customer has two EVs and one, the technology is only capable of being passively managed versus the other may have the technology to be more actively managed and do more sophisticated managed charging algorithms. Or in some cases, there's an IT challenge on the utility side where a customer, if they have solar, they can't also enroll into a managed charging program because the way the billing system was set up. And again, it's no fault of their own. When a lot of these systems were set up 5 years ago, they didn't really see as much managed charging down the line yet. We couldn't all see the future as well. So as we do have these learnings, more of that is getting ironed out.
Yeah, and I think as we're moving forward, we're seeing that there's going to be a factor of 2 or even 3 for the number of electric vehicles that are enrolled in managed charging programs across the country. And as we continue to move forward, there's a lot of scalability that's going to need to happen. Can you kind of speak to what support is actually needed to promote that scalability, and what's kind of the next step as we're talking about moving from that passive to the active side of things and target those programs effectively?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the stuff we're talking about, so far really is program design is, the top of everything. But, a lot of this industry is also about standards. And, folks do talk a lot about, the IoT standards, IEEE 23.5 or OCPP and things like that going down to the devices. And, we are supporters of that, and that is helpful. But to be honest, there's some of the missing territory that we spend a lot of time working with our partners on is also trying to develop standards and framework of the data that is actually needed from the utilities to enable a simple enrollment process and then ongoing management thereof. Lots of utilities may have an ADMS or a DERMS, but they have different schemas, and they all have customer databases, but they have different schemas. So even if you do one integration with a particular utility or vendor, you can go next door and it's a completely different thing. So there's a lot of work there to kind of enable the DERMs and VPPs of the future and enable managed charging in particular, particularly because these are mobile assets. So again, even some of the more sophisticated utilities where they are really ahead of the curve on their DERMs and smart grid implementation strategy, the fact that these are mobile assets brings something new to the game, and we may need some different information and a different approach, not only from program design, but from a technology perspective as well. And there's a lot of that to be ironed out to really enable that scale.
The other end of the scalability is, I agree, we've kind of touched on a bunch of scalability issues already here, is fully getting the EV OEMs engaged. So both WeGrid and Energy Hub are very EV OEM partnership centric. That's the way Energy Hub has built its business model for 10 years. We just acquired a company called BTR Energy that is focused on engaging with OEMs for flexibility programs. And you're seeing the only way you're going to achieve true scale is through that relationship between the car manufacturer and the person who purchased the vehicle. That's the trusted relationship. They don't know who we are. They don't know who WeGrid is. We don't really, I don't think either company particularly wants the OEM to know who we are, or the consumer to know who we are. So we need those OEMs having a great in-app experience, delivering the right kind of data and control levers to the utility so that we can deliver the value at the distribution level that we need to pay them and to pay the consumers enough so that they'll enroll. It's kind of, hopefully we're creating a virtuous circle there. And I think we're making a lot of progress. We're seeing a lot of strong moves from a lot of EV OEMs investing a lot more in that customer experience and baking managed charging into that customer experience in a way that will benefit the whole industry down the line.
So I've heard, data sharing, I've heard trusted partnerships, and all of these are kind of feeding into the collaboration aspect of what we need in order to move forward over the next couple of years. And when we're talking about telematics, networked AVSE, AMI, and all the different opportunities that exist for enabling managed charging, where do you see collaboration going? I know you had mentioned the OEMs. There's a couple other partners that really need to be in lockstep to make this happen. Either what needs to happen in collaboration, or what have you been seeing in the industry right now?
I mean, I think one super important thing is simply really defining the value of distribution load support, right? Like I know you guys have released some studies. We've done some research. It varies a lot by utility, and I think a lot of utilities are still grappling with that. And the fact of the matter is, like, EV managed charging does not really support the utility need to reduce their system peak right now at an enterprise-wide level. System peak is late afternoon. There's not a lot of EV charging going on then. So we need to quantify that value and then build system. That is the other half of program design, is figuring out the value we're delivering based on that program design, and then figuring out how we can equitably share those dollars across the entire value chain from the consumer to the OEM to folks like ourselves. And I think there's a lot of room for collaboration there, right? A lot of utilities are still trying to figure that out. They're grappling with how to put a number on that, and that's vitally important for this industry to scale, I think. So I think that'd be an interesting place for us to go.
Yeah, totally agreed there. There's a lot of the upfront things on, the program design and the IT integrations. There's plenty of work to be done there. But something else to really touch on, is the challenge of customer support. And it's like, even when things are working as desired, customers may have questions, or say something doesn't happen quite as desired. Who does the customer contact and call? They're like, okay, well, I have a certain brand of EV, but I have a different brand of charger, but I have my utility, but I think I enrolled in this program with some other third party. Like, who are they going to call? And being able to figure out that cohesive customer experience through that whole program and understanding what that workflow is going to be is definitely going to take a lot of collaboration. And there's a lot of not only commercial and business requirements around that, but ultimately having empathy for those customers and figuring out how do we scale that, because everyone both wants to play their role in helping support the electrification in this customer journey.
Yeah, and you talked to, just to build on that, I think we always say, like, you want to make this so there's no reason the customer buys the car and they're like, well, of course I'm going to sign up for managed charging. Didn't you sign up for managed charging, right? Now it's kind of like, I signed up for this thing, managed charging, don't understand it, and everything from customer support to the incentive to having the dealer know about it and being willing to prompt you towards that at the point of purchase. You want to embed a well-designed portion of the program in every aspect of that customer experience, so that it's just like, so it's not we're hoping for 50% of customers, but every customer signs up for this. And that's conceptually, I think, where we should all be heading.
We've been kind of talking a little bit about the seamless customer journey and really making it a no-brainer when you purchase that vehicle and you have all of these benefits and opportunities ahead of you, when now having this great new asset that isn't just a really cool car to drive or something that you enjoy having on your tailgate or your cookout, but there's all of these other different opportunities that exist. So my next question would kind of be, when we're talking about that customer experience and that seamless journey, what are the different components that go into that? I've seen automation, I've seen a couple other components that go into it, but what does that look like to continue that collaboration between the utility and that customer?
Well, I think the long-term answer, I think, will get a little simpler. But in the meantime, there's, again, not all automakers or charging manufacturers are quite the same stage of their either brand recognition or IT awareness, and similar with utility. So I like to leverage the term, omni-channel. I think, from a both education and outreach approach, you really need to have omni-channel experience for the next few years until we can kind of consolidate on what is that right program design, what is that right marketing strategy, and how do we bring all that together. So right now, I think we should be experimenting, do many things, and say, okay, how do you find this and be able to enroll via your utility app or your automaker app or your EVSE app? Take the more omni-channel approach, and also just do a lot more customer education so that folks don't even have to understand have their neighbor explain managed charging to them. That should just be something that's in the ether. More folks have come to understand what solar and storage do. How do we bring that sort of understanding to managed charging as well?
Yeah, and then just reducing friction wherever possible. Don't ask the consumer for their utility account number when they sign up, for example, which probably nobody in this building knows, right? So little ways to just take every aspect of that so that it's very easy for consumers to get involved, and then to talk at the cocktail party about how great it was and tell the next person to get signed up, Because I referenced prosumers earlier, but as you correctly pointed out, we're kind of moving past prosumers to mass market. I have buddies who don't work in clean tech who are still excited to own EVs. And we want to hit them too. So they're only going to do it if it's really easy.
Yeah, and I think as we're kind of wrapping up, I want to take a future-looking approach. As we move into 2026 and we continue working on all of these things, what's one barrier, item, aspect, or issue that you hope will be solved by 2026? That we're almost there, we're almost at the finish line, as much as we want to say it, that we're very close with actually unlocking something. Is there anything that you want to have solved or moved past in 2026?
Honestly, I think it's the just understanding of the both scale of the problem, but more the urgency. Because I think when you look at various models and forecasts and things like that, my fear is that some stakeholders do see this as okay, we understand this is probably going to be a problem, but that feels like a 28, 29 problem. But it's in the utility planning cycles, that's not years away. That's one cycle away, right? One rate case away, one IRP away. We need to be planning, doing this now. Pilots are good, and they're, I definitely believe in a crawl, walk, run type of approach for certain things. But there's also a lot of the early adopters and utilities have helped do some of that. So the next wave of utility programs, we can really take the lessons learned from that and, kind of skip some of those phases. And we really need to get to scalability as soon as possible to get buy-in, not only from consumers, but also all these other stakeholders that help make this possible, like the automakers and EVSE manufacturers. So we really need to understand that this is a urgent and scalable problem, so we need that urgency scalable solution sooner than later.
So definitely deepening the level of understanding, increasing the level of urgency, and having folks really understand that they need to plug into the solution, pun intended. So what's your perspective on this, Matt?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Kyle said. I'll probably reference what I said previously, is putting a dollar figure on that. We need to find a sustainable business model for this business. And that includes defining a value delivered to the utility so that we can all figure out how we incentivize everybody here to want to continue in this business, because it's going to be vitally important. And where the problem is coming, but that kind of the problem is now, but also 3 years out, kind of to your point, creates a bit of a gap there in terms of how do we solve the 3-year problem now, and if we don't, I think we won't be ready for when the real problem does show up in 3 or 5 years, like you're talking about. So I don't have the answer to that, but we should all work on that. 12 months to go.
Got it. Well, we'll have to put that on our New Year's resolutions when we kick off the next year together. But I just wanted to say, is there anything else that you folks wanted to share right now that you folks are excited about, that you've been hearing about, or any final words before we close out for the day?
Well, I will say I have mixed feelings around vehicle to grid, vehicle load V to X. I am both excited about it, and I previously came from solar and storage, so am a fan of, and all types of energy management, backfeed to the grid and things like that. But that again, I have a concern where it's a shiny object, and there may be a little bit too much focus on that. Is hey, let's solve that when we, there's plenty of scalable solutions out there already for V1G or regular managed charging. So let's not forget that. And then also getting back to this concept of program design. nervous of like not creating another swim lane for V2G opportunities, and how do we really make this consolidated into the overall program design? You know, someone may be a V1G customer today, but then become V2G capable later. Let's not add more friction points. How do we kind of make something holistic now?
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. You want to be able to scale people up from TOU to passive to active to V2G, and hopefully have them just, you know, flip one more switch, and that's about it to get there. Yeah, so I think the V2G thing is exciting. A lot of OEMs are interested in it. It's got a lot of attention just because, you know, battery program utilities are very interested in stationary batteries these days, so they look to V2G as kind of a logical extension of that. And we're supportive of that, but at the same time, the technology's not there yet, right? There are not a lot of V2G-enabled vehicles on the road, so there are many V1G-enabled vehicles on the road, so let's take advantage of that while not ignoring the potential long-term goal of building towards that V2G future.
Exactly.
Understood. Well, thank you so much, Matt, Kyle, for joining me for Current Conversations today. I wanted to thank once again SunCast Media and everybody for joining us here at the Power Up Live stage, presented by Wärtsilä Energy Storage, and of course produced by SunCast Media. Again, my name's Ashley Lin-Qua of the Smart Electric Power Alliance, signing off. Thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Power Up Live stage presented by Wärtsilä Energy Storage. I'm Nico Johnson, your host, and my voice is miraculously still here. I am joined. It's almost. I think I've got another hour in me, John. I am joined by someone that I had the pleasure of meeting. 3 years ago now? Maybe more.
A little more than 3.
A little more than 3 years ago, and when I first went down to Houston to see exactly how the oil and gas industry was thinking about this thing we were calling the energy transition. I think we were in kind of early days of figuring out, is this phrase going to stick? The reality is, as is said often around your office, the world needs more energy and fewer emissions. No city is better positioned to deliver that in all the ways than Houston. And joining me is Jane Stricker from the Greater Houston Partnership, stewarding the Houston Energy Transition Initiative, or HETI. Today we're going to explore Houston's edge, as we might consider it, scale, speed, and molecules plus electrons, the mindset that continues to keep Houston on the forefront as the energy capital of the world. Welcome.
Thanks, Nico. Great to be here. Great to see you again.
Likewise. The conversation is always easy. It just flows so well.
Yeah.
Like electrons.
Absolutely.
I want to hear an update. How has Houston's energy and clean tech ecosystem evolved in the time since I first had a chance to bring you on the pod?
Gosh, it's incredible. When we first met, it was CERAWeek 2021.
Or two?
One.
Yeah, golly.
2022.
I think it was 2, yeah.
And we had a small booth at
Yeah.
CERAWeek, sort of showcasing some of the things that were
Oh my
happening
gosh.
with
Your
incubators
small
and
booth-
accelerators.
No, but a small booth at CERAWeek is a big booth here, let's be honest.
And we had Greentown Labs, and we had Rice Alliance, and a couple of the other programs that were coming together in Houston. And it's just amazing to me to see how much growth we've seen in the region in the clean tech, climate tech startup space, in particular innovation. Houston's really become the place where new tech can scale and scale quickly. And so we have over 350 early stage clean tech, climate tech startups. We have over 35 incubators and accelerators all working in that space.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing more and more venture capital firms and growth equity firms that are really leaning into the energy transition and into renewables and clean tech and climate tech. And so it's really exciting to see this intersection of sort of the scaling of energy that has happened over the last 5 decades in Houston, now becoming the scaling of new energy and clean energy and low emissions energy. And so having all of that in Houston is really, really exciting.
Yeah. A lot of people, Greentown Labs is one of the early sort of climate tech incubators to choose Houston and say we really need to spend time in Houston, not just Boston and San Francisco and New York. But a lot of accelerators tend to focus on super early innovation and helping people get to the place where they can just test out and even demo product. What are you excited about from a commercialization perspective? Because I know that there's a lot of folks that have scaled beyond just the incubator phase.
So I'd say, Houston isn't just where the energy gets made.
Yeah.
It is also a hub for emissions. That's the reality. There's a lot of industrial activity, a lot of petrochemical activity.
Right.
There are a lot of industrial processes that happen in the Houston region and along the Gulf Coast. And so having access to those big facilities to start to pilot new technologies and test them in places where they can actually see how they work at scale.
Right.
And so having that opportunity with companies of all sizes, manufacturing all parts of the value chain. So wherever your technology happens to play in the energy space, there's an opportunity for you to explore that and to grow that in Houston.
Yeah. I have to say, when I first heard you say more energy, fewer emissions, I thought, well, that's really interesting coming from the heartland of fossil fuel. Can you unpack that for me? How is this shaping Houston's strategy for energy dominance?
Yeah, I think it comes in a couple of ways. And
at the end of the day, we're an economic development organization. Our job is, and my job is really about how do we ensure the long-term economic competitiveness of a region that has been heavily dependent on the fossil industry to create jobs and economic opportunity. And how do we make sure that, set aside the emissions question just for a second, even just if you look at the consolidation that's happening across the industry, the ability with digital technologies and with a lot of other technologies to create more energy with less people and less resources and less assets means that we're in a consolidation phase, and companies don't need as many people to produce the same amount or more energy in the fossil industry. And so we had to be thoughtful about how do we bring more energy into this market so that the energy industry as a whole continues to be a source of economic growth. On top of that, all of these companies at different places on the continuum are very much focused on how do they reduce either their scope 1 or scope 2 emissions or their scope 3 emissions. And so all of them are making big bets and investments into technologies that are going to help them continue to provide energy, but to do it in the lowest emissions way possible.
So as you pointed out, a lot of your role and the work that you all do is to demonstrate that Houston is open for business and that it is thriving for folks, not just in climate tech, but in the broader energy sector. Obviously, everyone associates Houston and Texas with the heart of the energy infrastructure for our country. Yet, there are numerous regions. I mean, I'm in North Carolina where we have quite attractive market for batteries and such, and I still see a lot of folks going to Houston. My best friend Jim Wood put the Seg factory in the greater Houston area. So
and we love that.
Yeah. Way to go, Seg. What keeps Houston competitive?
I think there are a lot of things. I think a piece of it is having a separate grid. Speed to interconnection, speed to connectivity, the ability to get that done quickly. TMEIC did an interview with us yesterday and talking about why they chose Houston to build 3 new manufacturing facilities. And they talked about how fast they went from permit to production of product. And so that's a big piece of it, the ability to quickly build things, the ability to get great talent. Whether that's construction talent to build whatever facility it is that you're looking to build, or the talent to actually work in your business. Both of those things are really important. And then I would say the other piece is really about just having such a huge value chain. The whole supply chain now is starting to be there, and you've got access to the port for really great export opportunity. And so all of these things together make Houston just a really great location for all of that new development. And we're seeing it all the time, whether it's TMEIC, Signal Energy is moving their headquarters from Chattanooga to Houston. Yeah, so there's a lot of really great.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're keeping their Chattanooga facility, but their office headquarters are going to be in Houston. Vestas CEO moved to Houston earlier this year.
EDPR is there.
EDPR is there. The Hess building has more renewables companies in it than oil and gas folks.
I love it. Every time I go to town, I have to go to the Hess building. And it's a trip, too, because there's so much lore about Hess and the fossil fuel industry there. And you're going in to meet with all the renewables companies.
Yeah, we have over 300 renewables companies that have a footprint or an office in Houston. And it's great. And the geothermal industry, another newer renewable space, but
it makes a lot of sense.
Opportunity.
It makes a lot of sense that there'd be a lot of geothermal folks because of the connection to the type of science that geothermal relies on and molecules. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Can you put everybody sort of intuits Houston's big, but the greater Houston area is gigantic, not just from a footprint perspective, because everything in Texas is big, but from an economic impact perspective. Can you put that into perspective for us?
Yeah. If it were a country, it would be the 22nd largest country.
Get out of town. 22nd largest?
Yes.
Behind what country, do you know?
I'm not sure behind what country, but it would also be the 14th largest state.
Yeah.
And so it is massive. It has the 3rd largest county, the 4th largest city, and the 5th largest metro area. And so it is incredible when you see, and that growth just continues. I mean, we look at how our growth is coming versus other major metros, and whereas most of the major metros across the U.S. are shedding people, we're increasing people. And so, as my boss likes to say, we need to stop apologizing for the weather and just recognize that Houston has a lot to offer.
And has adapted.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's, I would argue, it is, if not the most, among the most diverse metropolitan areas.
It is, for sure. 1 in 4 Houstonians is born outside the U.S.
Wow. That's incredible.
And it's not just
1 in
Latin.
4 of my children is born outside.
And it's not just South America, Latin American countries, as some might assume.
No.
For Texas and for Houston, but a large part of that is driven by the oil and gas industry. So many international companies
that makes sense.
That are based in Houston, and so many opportunities for people from all over the world to come work in Houston.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about the speed to scale, the speed to execution for Houston, but there's still a lot of folks that over the next, over the coming 12, 24 months are making active decisions about where to put their facilities. Make the case for Greater Houston.
Yeah, I think, we have the talent, we have the supply chain, we have the access to ports and airports, we have customers. I mean, so many of our companies that are based in Houston, are looking for ways to implement new energy technologies. And so all of those things combined with our speed to market, our competitive business environment, thank you.
That's okay.
And
we'll edit that part out.
And no tax.
No tax.
No state income tax, which makes it a really attractive place for businesses to come.
Certainly. One of the things that you all, I think rightly, leveraging the legacy and the heritage in Houston, call it the intersection of molecules and electrons. I want to understand how that plays out in the local economy and ecosystem. How does a clean tech or renewables sector benefit from the existing infrastructure, people, et cetera, that the fossil fuel industry has built in Houston?
So I think it's in a couple of ways. One, engineering talent is engineering talent. So whether you're building an oil and gas facility, whether you're building an offshore rig, or you're building large-scale solar projects, wind projects, there's a lot of overlap in terms of the technical capability required to do those things. There's also a lot of, one perfect example, I think, of electrons and molecules intersecting and renewables and traditional intersecting is BP built a solar facility to support and provide electricity for a petrochemicals facility in West Texas. I mean, perfect example of how companies that are still using fossil fuels to make the products that they need to make every day, because there aren't other solutions today at scale, are still focused on how do they get to a lower emissions place with respect to their Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. And those are perfect examples of how this industry comes together to solve a lot of those challenges.
That's really interesting. I wonder, I mean, I would say that probably a lot of my friends would be dubious that BP did that for an emission reduction rather than some other sort of time scale, right? Because I don't know the answer. I'm just like, my intuitive answer is like, well, if I'm looking at what's the single best way right now to power this thing that I would ordinarily bring my own fuel in for, it's solar and batteries, and it's economically feasible now, and it's fast. So thank you for that example, because I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to look into that. My friend Emily is at Lightsource BP, so I'm sure they were probably in some way involved in that. What do you think are signals that point to Houston winning the race right now as the energy transition hub? And I'm curious from the capital flows perspective too, if you want to kick off from that point.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a ton of capital come into the Houston market, and we're seeing companies and investment companies that are bringing their offices to Houston. Because they want to be where the decision making is happening. I mean, that's how it happened in the shale boom. every big investment firm knew that's where the decision making was happening.
Right.
It didn't matter where the projects were happening. It matters where the decision makers are.
Yeah.
And we see that more and more. And so we're seeing not only investment firms opening offices or headquartering offices in Houston, but we're also seeing that inflow of capital. So nearly $10 billion of capital into energy transition projects in the last 12 months. And so a lot of that is renewables, but a fair amount of the early seed funding, early stage funding, and early growth funding is going into some of those other new technologies.
I know, I know off the top of my head 4. How many factories have either been already put into operation or started construction in the clean tech space? Do you have a sense of that?
I don't know.
Putting you to the test here. I don't expect you to have data just like some tip of tongue.
I do, actually.
Oh,
right out in front of me. 9.
There you go. 9. 9. Fantastic.
I bring my data guy
I
with
love
me.
it. That's a smart move. Smart move. 9 factories. Okay, so I can think of half of them at least off the top of my head. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's in, just for context, this isn't all of Texas. This is just the greater Houston area, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there are 9 new factories in the whole of the state of North Carolina. And I would even argue that's including EV, like VinFast and others that have come to North Carolina. So are you rolling in as well, data guy? Is that EV, et cetera, or is just solar? All right, anything with batteries? Donna, anything with EVs?
We actually do have a fair amount of battery development happening.
I would imagine.
There's
we're going off script, data guy.
There's a facility out in Katy, Texas, and there's another one down in League City doing battery manufacturing.
And Katy is near Houston?
Katy's, just western suburb of Houston.
It's part of greater, what we
it's
call
part
greater.
of the region,
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, look, I want you've been in this sector. I feel like you've got a good pulse on not just where we've come from, but where we're going. If we look out 5 to 10 years, what's the boldest outcome that you want people to associate with Houston's transition story?
I think people will call it the energy capital of the world, and very much mean all energy.
Right.
And Houston and Texas are already demonstrating how different technologies and different solutions for energy can work together and be integrated. We had our set records yesterday again for the amount of solar and the amount of battery.
Thank God for Doug Lewin. He keeps tracking it.
He does. Another great data guy. But, everybody says, it's the energy transition capital of the world. And for me, it's not about being the energy transition capital of the world. It's about being the energy capital of the world in that changed landscape. And so making sure that Houston is still where the energy conversation is happening as the mix changes, as the emissions go down, as more new technology comes into play, as we get more and more renewables into the mix. All of that is energy, and we still need to be at the hub of all of it.
Jane, I get the sense when I talk to you that that the energy transition is not just lip service in the oil and gas sector. And I think that many of my colleagues and friends would assume that it is. They still assume that there's no real earnest attempt at energy transition. It's fascinating. When I hear this argument with people, I say, do you know a little company called Baker Hughes? And they're like, no. And I'll say, well, just humor me. How much money do you think, XYZ company put into launching their innovation fund, right? Oh, 50 million, 70 million, whatever. You know this number probably already, but Baker Hughes, when they launched their innovation division targeted on energy transition, $300 million set aside.
Absolutely.
300 million. And so when my friends say down with fossil fuels, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this is one of the greatest capital pools that could possibly be investing in our sector. Do I align with all of the sort of the thesis of their business model? Not entirely, but we got to power these data centers, and we got to keep the lights on in Houston.
Absolutely.
If we don't keep the air conditioning on, all these people are going to leave.
For sure.
Go ahead. Yeah, go
No, I was just going to share. We just published a report where we did some analysis of the amount of investment that our member companies, just our member companies within HETI, have made into energy transition and low carbon technologies and emission reductions. $95 billion.
What?
Yes.
95 billion.
Yeah.
That's a staggering number.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely staggering.
Yeah.
And so the reality is these companies have to do two things at the same time, right? Because we have to keep energy affordable, reliable, and resilient.
Yes.
And we also have to reduce emissions. And so that's why we talk about more energy, less emissions, because we have to be able to do both things at the same time.
Got to focus on that
because
ARR.
we can't shut down what people already have.
That's right.
And we need all of it and more of all of it, and we have to find ways to make it all fit together. And that's what Houston's really focused on. How do we make all this fit together and continue to deliver affordable, reliable, and secure energy while also making it as low emissions as possible?
Well said. Jane Stricker is the Senior Vice President of Energy Transition and Executive Director of HETI, part of the Greater Houston Partnership. Thank you for taking time to come out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I loved it.
And thank you all for being here. My, here we are, wrapping up the entire conference.
I can't believe it's over. It's been so quick. I mean, the days have been long, but the conference itself has gone by so quickly.
Yeah, like a Usain Bolt in an Olympic race. I feel like everybody told me all week, they're like, Nico, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I was like, I don't think you realize how fast this is going to go. And here we are. We're finally at the final session, the Daily Roundup, brought to you by Honda at the Power Up Live stage. I'm here, as always, with my beautiful co-host, Sylvia Leyva Martinez from The Interchange. It is so good to make it all the way to the end and still have my voice, mostly.
That's a big win, I would say.
I'd say that's a big win. I'm gonna chalk that one up. Thanks to T and Turmeric and a wonderful team, we were able to pull this thing across the finish line. I do want to, before we start the Daily Roundup, I just want to say thank you to the amazing folks at Shepherd who helped keep us and our audio tight, the folks at Freeman who helped make this wonderful stage look so beautiful, the folks at Encore, and certainly not the least of support was our friends at Real Life who kept the video prime and dialed in. You're watching us all the way over in the Venetian because our friends at Real Life kept the cameras rolling. And thanks to our wonderful team at SunCast Media who really did a great job. If you watch them rolling around in their new SunCast jerseys and you'd like one of these team jerseys, you can go to shop.suncast.media. We have them on sale now. It's our 10th anniversary jersey. It's the first time we actually have rolled out the swag shop. So I'm really excited about that too. Sylvia, we are on a deadline because you have a plane to catch. And so I want to capture a quick download on maybe the top 2 or 3 most insightful things that you learned this week or that you're taking away. Like your job is now to go back to WoodMac and sort of report on the things that you learned.
I would say, actually, I wouldn't frame it as takeaways. No? It's like the questions I live with that I need to work on that are going to be I'm going to be writing about it in my research. I'll be posting on it on LinkedIn, talking about it on the podcast. So I guess the first thing everyone has been asking about FIAC. Yes. And I really need to figure out how much capacity on the module production side is FIAC compliant, what are manufacturers doing to become FIAC compliant, and are they investing in that? Because it's a big investment. Right. So is it worth it? People are still going to want FIAC compliant equipment over the next year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. So that has been one of the biggest questions that I've heard on the show floor, and I'll probably be writing about that over the next few weeks. Yeah. So stay tuned.
I will definitely stay tuned. I think that the no surprise to anyone, the story of the show is batteries. We're over in Caesars Forum. We're Energy Storage International. Most of the battery vendors who maybe didn't have as much tenure at RE Plus and didn't get on the second floor of Venetian. There are a lot of them over here. I mean, we've got GE Vernova and GM. There's some big vendors on this side. But we had a number of conversations here on the Power Up Live stage about batteries, and I think that one of the key takeaways that I heard folks at least saying is batteries are no longer backup. They're the backbone of our grid. Yes. And I couldn't agree more. We had many conversations to support the thesis around batteries, not just supporting renewables as a firming resource, but the reality that it's not even a new idea that batteries are a firming resource for the grid. And I am really excited to see where the battery conversations go. The number of vendors that I met this week who are innovating from residential all the way through to utility scale on battery business models, not just the technology or the chemistry, but the business models of how to deploy it, how to monetize it, how to get it, how to scale it, really. It was very encouraging. I had another thought and it disappeared from me. So I was wondering if you had anything else you wanted to add.
The second question I live with is, I'm very excited to see how is the industry redefining itself. So we've already talked to utilities, we talked to many battery players, manufacturers, and I'm really excited to see the new advancements that are going to be in the industry. I heard a lot about how utilities and residential players are working together, and then new improvement in software, in hardware. There are so many things to cover. And hopefully all the innovation that we have seen in the show floor is going to be implemented relatively soon, because we need to speed to reach the scale that we want on the energy transition. So every single effort, every single player that I saw on the show floor is contributing to that.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to see what's up next. Like, how is RE Plus 2026 going to look like?
Totally.
So I'm really looking forward to it.
And RE Plus 2026 is going to be in the convention center, the newly remodeled convention center.
I hope it's going to be a bit more manageable than here, a bit less steps.
It'll all be, I think it'll be the same number of steps, just all inside one building, thankfully.
It's a bit more practical. So.
Yeah. You know, I was talking to my friend Spencer Meeks, and he did a workshop on Monday, and I think probably to no one's surprise, it was a standing room only workshop about storytelling. And I have on good authority, which I guess would be Spencer's authority, that it was the most requested and most, it was the session that they saw most people saying it was the one they wanted to go to on Monday. And he said it was standing room only. And there was a fervor for this notion of how do we actually tell the story of our industry in a way that helps us fight against the, you know, I had Jigger here on the very first day, the political battle is real for us, and we need a machine and a mechanism and a good story for building that political power back.
Yep.
And well, I wouldn't say back, but building it at all. And it really does start not just at the corporate sort of brand level, but at the individual level. And we had Jeremy and I were walking around the show floor talking to a number of companies, and to a person, every single one was looking at how do we take this medium of video, how do we take our story and communicate it in a more compelling way, not necessarily to the B2B partners on LinkedIn, but to Main Street, not just to Wall Street, but to the newspapers in rural towns and communities. I think that's where we have to take the battle. That was probably my biggest takeaway from
I love that because, yes, as you mentioned, and I remember the conversation that you had with Jigar, it seems that energy is political, right? So that's inevitable. But we're reaching this point where how are we convincing everyone around of all the benefits of solar or storage? So we all know the benefits here. I think that's why we're all here at RE Plus. But just making sure that we're all aligned and how do we convey that message? How do we convince everyone? So storytelling becomes even more powerful now more than ever.
Indeed. Hey, before people tune out, and bearing in mind we are rebroadcasting this on our respective shows, for folks on the SunCast audience who've never heard of your show, why don't you go give a plug for it? What do you do with Interchange, and how can they listen to it?
Yeah, so the Interchange Recharge, we interview the main players that are driving the energy transition. So it's very broad, but we cover a lot of topics. We've talked about nuclear, CCUS, hydrogen, solar storage, obviously. So what are the technologies, business models, new products that are being developed, and how are they having an impact on the energy transition? So we launch an episode every 2 weeks. We have been launching a series for RE+, so I encourage everyone to tune in and listen more about what we have there on the show.
Yep, and if you are used to an episode every 2 weeks, then you will be overwhelmed by listening to SunCast. But we cover leaders on the front lines of the clean energy transition twice a week and have done so for the last 10 years. And it's been such a pleasure to see you take the role for Interchange and the whole rebranding Interchange Recharged and being at the helm of that. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I just wanted to edify you and let you know that.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, another creator that we admire who is doing a killer job in the interwebs, in a place that I have avoided altogether, TikTok, is our friend Derek Solarboy Mast. Why don't you welcome Derek to the stage?
Welcome.
All right. Derek, I'm a little apprehensive, I must say, because
you know what? I tell you what, today is going to be more chill than yesterday.
Nice.
Yesterday, wanted to put you guys in a hot seat, but it's Thursday. We're all starting to wind down a little bit. It's not necessarily going to be fun still, but I do have a reputation to uphold.
There you go.
We
bring it, Solar Boy.
Bring it down a little bit. So I wanted to share a little bit of what I've been doing across the show floor.
Yeah,
we believe we have a video to present.
Fantastic.
If you guys are up for it over there.
Does the video work?
Do we got a video, man? If I need to vamp a little bit, I can do that too.
Here we go.
Here we go.
There you go. Oh yes, a little eating.
Yes, some good Chinese. Pickleball was a lot of fun. Madame Tussauds, classic.
Oh, nice. You were interviewing a wax statue. This is cool. Look at that. Oh, yeah, I know exactly
Oh, my face.
Oh, man, that's great.
So this has been a great week. Great week. We're all pretty tired. We're all feeling like
Derek,
laying down and hanging out.
Man, you covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, it's been
Literally.
It's been a busy week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've walked this show probably about 15 times back and forth at this point, just doing,
I kept having meetings in the Venetian, and I would be in my meeting, and I'm like, all right, 15 minutes until I'm supposed to be on stage. And they keep talking. I'm like, guys, I got to go. It's 12 minutes. They keep talking, and like in 9 minutes, I get up and leave the meeting, and I'm sprinting. And I swear,
You're calculating the pace.
The
Like,
folks at Groundwork, I went by today, and they were like, Nico, you're not running. Derek, so many interviews this week. What stands out to you?
So just talking with people, I know everybody has definitely been coming here looking for camaraderie in the industry. Like we're all obviously feeling the down of what we've had to deal with sort of in our own separate universes, but coming together at the conference, it is encouraging to hear other people deal with the same kind of stuff and hear that other people are still pushing through. I was actually just this morning talking to the guys at TerraGen, who they're Canadians who have to sell in the U.S. and talking about like the domestic content stuff, FIAC stuff, and like they talking about it positively in like hey, we actually have a scope that we can push for. Like there's almost a clarity of purpose that comes with this kind of stuff sometimes. Not that we want it, but we can still come together as an industry and find solutions to work towards that stuff. So that kind of stuff is always inspiring to talk to people and hear the positivity kind of reflected back that you are kind of looking for, right?
Yeah.
But, positivity aside, let's go to our game. Yeah? We ready for a game? So, again, for those of you who have not been here or know what game we are playing, it has been a challenging year with annoying decisions around each corner. So, to hone our skills of decision making, we are playing a game called, drumroll.
All right, here we go.
Drumroll, Would You Rather. It is a game of strange situations to reveal the heart of the player where we will not judge them for the choice that they make because the choices are all terrible. Nico and Sylvia will be posed 2 options. They must pick one of them and give their reasons on why they think it's the least bad option. They can ask clarifying questions to try to make it better for themselves, but it's still like convincing a concrete block to fly. Today is the day we pick an audience member submission. So the last couple of days we've been taking audience submissions, suggestions, and I've been very happy to have the opportunity to make Nico and Sylvia squirm, but we are giving the audience the chance today. So we've had 4 submissions.
4.
Okay.
Well, only one winner. Our winner is Josh Hamza, a solar commissioning engineer for DSD Renewables.
Love it.
So let's get into it.
All right, Josh, what you got?
Would you rather replace the connectors on all the home runs at a 5 megawatt ground mount in 15-degree Fahrenheit Illinois snow, or would you rather remediate wire management on a 1 megawatt roof mount site full of broken zip ties in 115-degree Arizona heat? So both big sites, lots to do, take you weeks to remediate. One is replacing connectors on a ground mount in just absolutely freezing conditions in snow. The other one is fixing all of the wire management on a roof in 115-degree Arizona heat.
I know my answer.
I don't. What does it mean to do the wire management? Like, is it zip tying everything?
Yeah, zip tying everything back up, finding all the wire ties that are down, lifting modules to get at the wires to, to tie them up.
If you've ever replaced an MC4, then the answer is easy.
Tell me what your answer is, Nico.
I would rather sit on the beach and sweat all day. So my family and I have this conversation all the time. Like my kids love the mountains, they love the snow, they love the cold. I'm not so much a fan. I love the cold if I'm falling down the mountain at velocity on a board, but that's about the only time I'm going to choose it willingly.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't really care what the activity is. If it's a question of cold versus hot, put me on the roof. But also, not such a bad idea, or not such a bad job, in my opinion, to fix all the cable management. It's absolute hell replacing MC4 connectors.
Especially when your fingers are
That's right.
frigid cold,
Yeah.
and you're like just trying to get the dexterity enough to...
Exactly.
That was exactly what I was thinking about. Like being freezing. I grew up in the northern part of Mexico. I live in Texas right now.
That's right.
So I am a heat person.
So you
There's no way.
you deal with more heat probably than 115 degree
So
Arizona.
I could walk outside, like go for a stroll, go for a run. So yeah, it should be fine.
The other factor here is that like on a ground mount, you are standing for long periods of time, whereas with wire management, you are going to be bending
hunched
over.
over. That's right.
Hunched over.
I would
So
get one of
there's
those.
that factor
I would
as
get
well.
one of those wheelie benches, though.
And just stay there.
There you go. Yeah, you can totally be smart about tools and stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, there's ways to make it easier, Derek.
So I agree. Like I think this is the first one we both
This is the
agreed,
first one we
right?
agreed on.
Yay!
All right. All right. Good job. Excellent. Well, it has been very fun playing games with you this week. Thank you for the opportunity. And
this has been really fun and nerve-wracking too. So I'm gonna be thank you, Derek.
Derek, the Solar Boy Mast, everyone. Thank you, Derek, for
Thank you.
joining us. You can find Derek on all the socials at Solar Boy, B-O-I.
It's at the Solar Boy most of the time, or at Derek Solar Boy on YouTube. But yeah, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube.
I mean, if you search Solar B-O-I.
Yeah, Solar B-O-I, you'll find me.
That's
for
right.
sure.
Perfect.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, all good things have to come to an end, Sylvia. And as we have seen, vendors are already walking through the halls with their wares on the way to their taxis.
Yes.
Something that you also are going to have to do
In a few minutes.
very soon. Any parting thoughts?
This has been a great opportunity. This has been really fun. It's been fun to be on stage. It's been fun to interview so many people in the booth. It's been fun to meet so many clients, industry contacts. I feel refreshed.
Yeah.
Tired as well, but more refreshed. So looking forward to what's next. You?
Indeed. I think we all are. We're looking forward. I think 2026 is going to be a banner year. I think 2025 was one of those years we'll all look back on and think that while it was difficult, there was a necessary adjustment in the industry. And we are all here. I said in the beginning, this is a family reunion. If we remember that we're all in this together, then we can go far.
Yes.
And I'm really grateful for the partnership with you here on the stage. I'm thankful for the partnership from Wärtsilä as our presenting sponsor 2 years in a row. Thank you, Wärtsilä, for sponsoring the Power Up Live stage 2 years in a row. Really grateful. Thank you to our premier sponsors who also are back for a second year. We have ABC Supply, Fluence, MGM, and TrueGrid. Our supporting sponsors, Clean Tech Industry Resources, supported our morning show. Honda was our daily roundup sponsor. Thank you, Honda, once again. FlexGen, Infineon, Revamp, and TerraHive. TerraHive, we haven't talked a whole lot about TerraHive, but TerraHive was sponsoring our live stream at suncast.live throughout the week, as well as our Pro Studio podcast studio. You could have been recording inside of our Pro Studio while we were here on the stage, and if you missed that opportunity, Josh, where should they go to sign up? We'll put it on our website, suncast.media. If you missed the opportunity to participate in the Power Up Live stage or in our Pro Studio, as our friends from WoodMac got a chance to do, don't miss it next year when we are over in the convention center. We'll have at least one studio that you can record in that's not live on a stage. So please reach out to us. Thank you as well to the RE Plus team. Thanks to the sales team at RE Plus. You all are wonderful. You are so supportive. And last but certainly not least, our tech team from Real Life, Freeman and Shepard. Thank you for making all of this come to life and come to be the reality that we had hoped for. We're signing off one last time, all the way over from Caesars Forum. I'm Nico Johnson.
I'm Sylvia Martinez.
And this is your Daily Roundup.
Thank you, everyone.